This is a pretty bad hair day today. It's a pretty bad hair day today. Hold on. We're going. Feeling a little pirates today, right? We get the name of the back right. Name of the back right. We got Cutchy. We got furry Cutchy in this bitch, right? Yeah, we're gonna get into the first, right? What did I say we're gonna get? Oh, we're gonna get into March Madness first. MLB today. MLB today doesn't start until 3:10, and once it does start at 3:10, pretty underwhelming game if I do say so. Twins and Royals, right? Who gives a fuck about the Twins? Who gives a fuck about the Twins, right? Who gives a fuck about the Minnesota Twins? Yeah, nah. We ready to start this bitch, right? Oh no, yeah, we're ready to start this bitch. Eats for today. I started a little bit early, right? Because I don't have to eat as much this time around. I got to eat as much during the street, right? Yeah. I'm thinking about it now. I should have eventually when I get chatters, right? When I get chatters, like a good flow of chatters, right? I'll have them place like here-ish, right? I'll have them place like here-ish, and then like here-ish. I'll have topics and stuff, right? Or the topics I'm gonna go over for today, right? And then we'll check it down whenever we finish going through them, right? I think that'll be a pretty good idea once we once we get our footing in, right? Once we get a little footing in, right? Still making our little marks, right? Still doing our little things, right? Yeah, I haven't even peeped this, right? How long have we been going? Ooh, been about a month and some shit. Oh, actually, no, it's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks. I'll chill it out. I'll chill out for it. It's been 2 weeks. Hold on, wait. We're good? Yeah. I'm about to start singing the same. I was about to start singing the same song, right? And we can't bring baby fake. I want my button blade. Cause me and bro was in them stores, but of us had 50-cent cakes. Condoms I use don't break. The bitch told me she late. Condoms I use don't break. I'm still kind of geeked about Saturday's stream. Right? Huh. Bitch told me she late. Condoms I use don't break. Yeah, fuck it. Let's start with yesterday's slate of games, right? Michigan and Tennessee, right? I don't want to say that we were calling it, right? I don't want to say we were calling it, but at the same time, oh, good lord. Oh, shit. I just realized my Fire Stick is cooked for some reason. Is my camera I forget to clean my camera before this. I already cleaned my camera before this, right? I forgot to set up the background too, like in general. Look, this is what I'll be wearing during the Michigan games, right? This is what I'll be wearing for the Michigan games. So I did say we were going to go live still, regardless if Michigan heads to the Final Four or not. We are going live for that Michigan Final Four. Michigan, Arizona, everybody's talking about it, right? Everybody's talking about it. It's gonna be cinema, right? It's gonna be actual cinema, right? Real good game right there. Real good game. I like skipped over like Michigan, Tennessee, because I mean, like, what is there really to talk about between Michigan and Tennessee? What was there really to talk about, right? Let's see. Tennessee got that ass whoop, right? Tennessee got that ass whoop, right? Michigan was able to get all of their players to play. Like, that's how bad this ass whooping was. And yeah, I mean, we saw Charlie May hit a three, right? Charlie May hit a three, right? To the Michigan fans out there, I don't know, Michigan State fans. My bad, I forgot. State fans out there, right? Now they have to live with the fact that Jeremy Fears has less Elite Eight points than Charlie May. Tough reality for Sparty fans, right? Tough reality for them. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. Your team's buns, right? Your team's buns, and Cohen Carr is buns. Tennessee, they put up a cute little fight, right? One of their key players got in foul trouble very quickly, right? And I mean, yeah. The fat lady was singing at halftime. The fat lady was already singing at halftime. It was pretty much over at that point. We'll get to Duke in a sec. But I mean, pretty dominant win, right? Yaxel Lendenberg is having a fucking tournament. Yaxel Lendenberg is having, right? A lot of guys having themselves a tournament, right? Trey McKinney having himself a tournament. Elliot Cadeau having himself a little bit of a tournament. Merez Johnson, right? Merez Johnson killed all regular season, right? Merez Johnson was doing that shit for us in the regular season. Taking a little bit of a step back during the NCAA tournament, right? A little bit of a step back. However, he can't stay cold forever, right? He cannot stay cold forever. He can't stay cold forever, right? A team like Arizona, right? Like, it's going to be a physical game. Ultimately, that's the one thing for sure. That's going to be the one thing for sure. It's going to be a real physical game between Michigan and Arizona. I mean, I still got my dogs, right? And win that shit, right? We winning the ship, right? Especially after learning that Illinois and UConn's on the other side, right? We winning that shit. You feel me? We winning that shit. Feel me? Yeah, just really dominant win for Texas, right? Jacoby Gillespie, he got a couple buckets, right? Nate Ament, not a good game right now. I'm seeing a lot of people trash Nate Ament, right? They're trashing him on the basis of, like, people were talking about him being a top 10 pick, right? He was a top 5 recruit in college last year. Comes in, has a pretty decent season, right? Pretty bad Elite Eight game though. He was pretty bad at this Elite Eight, and ultimately, right, to the casual fan, right? the tournament's all that matters, right? The tournament's all that matters, right? Like the casual NBA fan, right? The playoffs is all that matters, right? They don't give a fuck about what you do in the regular season, right? They don't give a fuck about what you do NCAA, NBA regular season, right? It's always what the fuck you do in the playoffs, right? That's why Caleb Martin was a good player. Man, fuck Caleb Martin, man. Fuck Caleb Martin. Fucking hate Caleb Martin, bro. He's on my Mavs right now. I can't get the shirt. Oh, can I get the shirt down? We'll wait, right? He's on my Mavs right now. What a great player. What a great player Caleb Martin is. What a great player Caleb Martin is. So yeah, Michigan, pretty dominant win, right? Axel Ledenberg. People are talking about him being the best Wolverine of all time, right? Best Michigan Wolverine of all time. I do want to pump the brakes a little bit, right? Pump the brakes a little bit. However, if he wins that championship, though, Yaxel, if he wins that championship, it'll be very fucking hard to deny him that. Very hard to deny him that, right? Very hard to deny him that, right? I seen a little Twitter post earlier. Was it today? It might have been. No, it was today. It was today. Talking about how Yaxel Lenenberg is the second best Wolverine that my generation has watched, right? People in my generation, right? Because people in my generation, right? We weren't alive necessarily for the Chris Webbers or the Glenn Rices, right? We weren't alive for those two guys, right? I mean, you could watch them, right? You could. I mean, there's a lot of Chris Webber tape out there. There's a lot of Chris Webber tape. Glenn Rice. As a Wolverine, not as much tape as there is of Webber, but I mean, if you look hard enough, there's some Glenn Rice tape, right? It's real hard to deny that he might be the best Wolverine of all time. Trey Burke also played at Michigan a little bit longer too. But a ship, man. It don't mean a thing without that ring. No, it don't mean a thing without that ring. Now, it do not mean a thing without that ring. Yeah, I mean Yaxel is fucking great, right? Just really good team, right? I remember the first game of the season, right? I watched it with my dad, right? The main reason why I don't really be watching the Michigan games like on live, right? I don't really be watching Michigan games on live, right? I like to watch them with my folks and shit, right? Usually like to watch them with my folks and shit. However, y'all got me for the Final Four, right? Y'all got me for the Final Four, right? But yeah, I usually like to watch these Michigan games with my folks, right? In the very beginning of this season, man, I saw the starting lineup, right? Elliot Cadeau, Namani Burnett, Yaxel Lenenberg, Morez Johnson, Ade Mara. The moment I saw that starting lineup, I was like, damn. So we just have the best starting lineup in the country. Like we just have the best starting lineup in the country, right? And our bench is kind of nice. Our bench is kind of nice, right? We got a good set of rotational players, right? As we have Roddy Gale, Trey McKinney, Will Schletter, right? A couple of good guys that come off the bench for us. And the way that Yaxel Lenenberg and Morez Johnson play, like they're very diverse people. They're very diverse basketball players, right? Very diverse basketball players, very interchangeable basketball players, right? Yeah, I remember having LJ Kaysen. Yeah, I remember seeing LJ Kaysen go down with the injury, and immediately after he went down with that injury, right? They're trying to count us out, right? They were trying to count us out, like, oh shit, LJ Kaysen, right? Like, what are we gonna do without him, right? Very talented player, right? Very talented player in LJ Kaysen, might I add. Hopefully, he's gonna be back for us next year, right? Would definitely appreciate. We not complaining, right? We not complaining if LJ Kaysen's back with us next year, right? We is definitely, as Michigan fans, I'm sold, right? We sold in this shit, right? We is definitely sold. How? Did we go out already? Are we out? Are we out? This is why I want the fire stick to be working, right? Because I can't tell, right? I can't tell. Because it's showing me good right here. It's showing me good right here. I'm running and shit, right? Huh. Oh, okay. It's tripping. It's tripping. All right. Okay. No, we good. 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 Um. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, so Michigan's just a deep team. They're just a deep team. They do too much, right? There's so many ways we can beat you, right? One of the few teams that's probably able to keep up with us the same way in the same. Hombre, ain't nobody want to fucking watch First Take. The fuck out of here. It's the only reason why I do this shit, because of First Take. Nobody wants us to watch that. So the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Los Angeles Lakers, right? How are we gonna deal with LeBron being the third option, right? Some bullshit like that, right? Some bullshit like that is probably going on at First Take again. I guess we're not. I guess we really not doing it. I guess we really not doing it. I guess we really not doing it like that. Okay. Okay, we're not doing it like that. All right. All right. No, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. I mean, shit. That's cool. It's cool. Whatever. Oh wait. What if I? I come out there. Oh, I come out there. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Oh shit! There you go. There you go. You feel me? You feel me? You feel me? You feel me? All right. Okay. Now we clean. We cooling in a bitch. We cooling in a bitch. All right. Okay. Now we smooth. We smooth. We smooth. We smooth. We smooth. Shit, my quality ain't that bad too. Hands up. Hands up. Wait. Hands up. We ain't moving all that bad. We ain't moving that bad, right? Okay. All right, one more time. For the one time. Hands up. Thumb moving. All right, okay. Thumbs moving fear. Okay. All right, we cool. We chilling. So yeah, I mean, Michigan, Arizona, cinema, right? Cinema. I want to point out. I do want to point out in that game though. There's two things I want to point out though. There's two things that are kind of both of these teams' Achilles heels, right? Two things, both of these Achilles heels. So Arizona, right? Arizona. This particular tournament, right? Their 3-point shooting's been kind of iffy, right? The 3-point shooting's been kind of iffy, right? Not a lot of shooters, right? Not a lot of shooters, right? They get to the basket very well. They get to the basket very well. They draw a lot of fouls, right? That's kind of how they're able to stay up in these games, right? Right? They keep up the lead, right, with these free throws, right? However, once they hit, they're streaky, right? They're not that good of a 3-point shooting team, but they're streaky. They are streaky, and if they're hitting, it is a little bit of a problem, right? It is a little bit of a problem with Michigan. I do want to point out with Michigan is that it's going to be a very physical game. It's going to be a very physical game, and one problem that Michigan has, one very big problem that Michigan has is if Mara gets into foul trouble, we are a totally different team. We are not the same team if Mara gets into foul trouble. Not the same. Not as because then defensively, right? Like, I mean, Yaxel, Merez, they get a lot of blocks, right? But defensively, we're a little small. We're a little bit small. Right? No, ain't nothing you can really do about it, right? We're just a little bit small, right? It is what it is, right? It is what it is, right? Little bit small whenever we do have Yaxel out, right? So those are my two little key things, right, for this game. However, I do think that Michigan does get this done. I think Michigan gets this done, and we're gonna probably see UConn, right? So the other Elite Eight game, right? We saw Duke and UConn, right? Duke and UConn. Duke infamously gave up a 15-point lead at halftime, right? Duke was up 15. It gave up a big lead, right? A lot of it was in the last 10 minutes, right? It accumulated through the last 10 minutes, right? Because they made that little push. They made that little push around the 10-minute mark, right? It was staying like around like a 5-6 point game, right? It was staying around there, right? And yeah, ultimately March Madness, a lot of it is also just about like which team finishes on a run, right? If you're the team that's finishing on a run, right? You're the team that's finishing on a run, most of the time you will win the game. That's just how March is. That's just how March in particular is. If you are finishing on a run, you will most likely win the game, whether you're up or down. You up or down, if you're the ones finishing on that run, momentum is a motherfucker in this shit. Momentum is a motherfucker. People don't want to deal with momentum in March, right? Let's just put it like that. People don't want to deal with momentum, right? So that brings us to like the very last second shot, right? Right, UConn hits them the free throws, right? UConn hits them the free throws. Ultimately, they're down 1, right? No, they're down 2. Yeah, they're down 2. Hit those little free throws, right? Caden Boozer on the inbounds, right? Tries to throw the long ball, right? They're pressing. UConn's pressing. Caden looks to throw over the press, right? However, the last guy back gets his hands on the ball, gets it to a guard's hands immediately, and chunk that shit, right? Chunks that shit up. Hold on, wait. I'm still behind. Chunks that shit up, right? Chunks that shit up. Chunks that shit up. Chunks that shit up from Dame range, right? Um, little bit more of a centered shot than the one from St. John's to try to tie it, right? And yeah, that's all she wrote, right? That's all she wrote, right? A lot of different things you can take away from that, right? You can take away, as soon as the shot goes in, right? You can take away Dan Hurley doing that little dumbass like staring the fuck down on that ref, and like headbutts the ref too a little bit, too, right? This is some shit that Dan Hurley would like. You could tee up Dan Hurley, and Dan Hurley would like, I don't see how you call that in that moment of the game, right? You could fucking shoot the ref. You could shoot the ref at the very end of the game, right? And Dan Hurley would fucking be like, I mean, it's the end of the game, right? I don't see how you call a tech like that on the very end of the game, right? Like, you could literally shoot the ref, fuck the ref's wife, right? At the very end of the game, right? You could do all that shit in Dan Hurley's book, but it shouldn't be called a tech, right? Some Dan Hurley shit right here. Just pointing it out there, right? So yeah, I do think Dan Hurley should have been teed up. He should have been teed up at the very end, man. That is some weird, intimate shit, right? The ref, a little bit of a pussy for not calling that tech, right? People are trying to argue like otherwise, like, oh no, I mean the ref, at least the ref isn't soft enough to call that shit a tech, right? Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. Punch the ref at the very end of the fucking game, right? He literally headbutts the ref. He literally headbutts the fucking ref at the end of the game. No technical call whatsoever, right? Like, I don't give a fuck if UConn or Duke won, right? I don't give a fuck who they won, right? Duke makes it to the ship, right? We get to get our Michigan gets to get their dub back, right? We get to get our get back, right? UConn makes it to the ship, right? Dan Hurley, right? We get to send that piece of shit packing, right? The fuck up, right? Dan Hurley is the biggest sausage of all college basketball, right? Might be the biggest sausage of all of NCAA, right? That's actually an interesting question, right? I'm not too really familiar with like the baseball managers, right? Soccer coaches, hockey coaches, right? I'm not really familiar with those guys, right? If I had to give like a Mount Rushmore of like biggest sausages in fucking the NCAA, right? So you'd have Dan Hurley, right? Right? Ryan Day, right? Pretty big sausage, right? I mean, I like this guy, right? But by default, kind of like the things that he does, right? Just by default, right? Lane Kiffin, pretty big sausage, right? A lot of people don't like Lane Kiffin, right? I'm not. I mean, I'm not a part of that train, right? I'm not a part of that crowd, right? But yeah, there's people who don't like Lane Kiffin, right? The fuck? Yo, my stream is. Yo, we lagging? No, we're lagging a little bit. Okay, we're lagging a little bit. lagging a little bit. Sigh, a little bit of lag. Sigh. Right. So now, actually, was it? So yeah, that's 3 rights. A third coach I'd have to put up there, right, is probably a lot of sausages in college football. I'm not gonna lie. Right. I mean, you could put Tom Izzo, right? Tom Izzo, Brent Bielema from Illinois, right? Tom Izzo, Spartan basketball, Brent Bielema, Illinois football, right? Um, yeah, I'd say those two are really like they're really going toe to toe for the last spot on the sausage Mount Rushmore, right? Because Brent that dude is an asshole, right? That dude is a asshole, not bleached, just an asshole. And Tom Izzo, one of the most humble people in sports, right? The most humble person in sports, Tom Izzo, right? It is what it is, right? Just is what it is. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. So yeah, I mean, says it right there, right? So UConn, we got UConn, Illinois, right? I would have winning that game between UConn and Illinois, right? Now I'm thinking UConn. Pause. I'm thinking UConn, right? Based off of just sheer physicality, right? I'm thinking UConn, right? Huge fan of Keaton Wagler, right? Very huge fan of Keaton Wagler. Fuck, no, I'm not. But yeah, I just think UConn is just too much. It's just too much for Illinois to handle. That's all I'm thinking, right? Unless Illinois comes out fucking swinging, right? They're shooting the shit out of that ball, right? If Illinois is shooting the shit out of that ball, right? Because that's kind of like the last like hyper offensive team, right? I know Michigan's scoring 90 every fucking game, right? But Michigan scoring 90 every game, being an all-around team, right? Like not only are they good offensively, they're good defensively, right? They're good defensively, right? They cause turnovers, right? Cause turnovers. Usually get to the free throw line, right? That Bama game, not a lot of free throws taken for not a lot of free throws for Michigan in that Bama game. However, usually they get to the line pretty well. Arizona gets to the line pretty well. Illinois, they get to the line pretty well as also, right? Yeah, that's going to be kind of a tough game, right? That's going to be kind of a tough game, right? The physicality of UConn going up against just the sheer offensive willpower of Illinois, right? It's going to be a tough game to call, right? But I like UConn in that, right? I'm liking a UConn and Michigan national championship. Remember, Michigan heads that national championship. We will not be going live. No, folks. We will not be going live for that Michigan championship game. Only going live for a Michigan Final Four game, right? Only game we will be going live for Michigan in this NCAA tournament. Even though we got the Morez Johnson dick picture, right? As the thumbnail, right? The Morez Johnson dick picture. It's an absolute beauty of absolute beauty. One of the nastiest posters of all fucking time. And yeah, I like Michigan and UConn, right? I like Michigan and UConn in that national championship. Michigan and UConn. So I've been going over all that. The Twins and Twins Royals has started, right? I didn't even see the pitching matchup for this game. The Twins probably starting. Twins. Woods Richardson. Right, Woods Richardson, pretty decent pitcher, right? Pretty decent, right? Does a lot of things pretty well, right? But was pretty mid last season. Woods Richardson was pretty mid last season, right? We got Bubic on mound for the Royals. Already pitched an inning. 20 pitches in the first inning for Bubic. Yikes. Yikes. Not a good start. Not a good start for your mans. Not a good start at all, right? But I like Bubic though. I like Bubic. He's coming off a pretty decent year. I mean, I like Bubic. 20 pitches in the first inning. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how long that lasts. We will be coming back to that from time to time, right? The only thing that's really going to be going on throughout the entirety of the stream, right? We will most likely be getting into the like the 5:30 slate of games, right? I'm thinking we're going to be done before the 6 o'clock slate, but the 5:30 slate is probably when we'll be finishing off the UFC topics, right? Yeah. Overall, it's been a pretty fun tournament, right? It's been a pretty fun tournament compared to last year. It's a pretty fun tournament, right? A little bit more upsets than last year, right? People argue that NIL. I mean, they're saying NIL is the reason that the tournament won't be as fun anymore. It's more so the transfer portal, right? NIL, it does give opportunities to like the littler cats, right? But that transfer portal though, it fucks teams up, right? It fucks teams up. People can't have shit. Them Robert Morrises, them little Robert Morrises, them High Points, right? Them McNeese States and shit, right? They can't have shit. They can't have shit for more than a year. Tough tit, right? Tough tit. Moving on. We're gonna be getting into the NFL portion, right? NFL portion, right? Like I've always mentioned, like the NFL, right? It's kind of like it's been like a little bit of a distant thing we've talked about, right? Haven't really fully broken down NFL in a while, right? I've broken down the Saints. I've broken down New Orleans, but I haven't really broken down like the rest of the teams in the league, right? The rest of the moves that have happened, right? I mean, let's start from top to the bottom, right? We'll start from top to bottom, right? We'll start with the AFC East, right? The AFC East, they made a couple big moves, right? The biggest move out of these AFC East, right? The biggest move is them getting DJ Moore, right? The Buffalo Bills got DJ Moore now. They got DJ Moore. Now, was it a good trade, right? Was it a good trade? A second round for DJ Moore. Now, if you put it like this, right? You put it like this, right? With this second round pick in this upcoming draft, right? Was Buffalo going to get a better receiver than DJ Moore is right now? Right now, right? Was Buffalo going to get a better receiver than DJ Moore is right now, right? Yes, you can use your first rounder, right? But ultimately, right, Josh Allen, right? He makes the team's too good. The team's too good with Josh Allen, right? You need to compete. You're gonna need to compete year in and year out with Josh Allen on your team. I'm not saying DJ Moore does it, but DJ Moore helps tremendously. It helps tremendously, right? Like you still got well, I mean this year is gonna be a little bit open for the AFC. It's gonna be a little bit open this year because of how late in the season the injury was to Pat. Right? It's gonna be a little bit open, right? I mean, we'll see. We'll see how well this DJ Moore pickup does for the Buffalo Bills, right? Ultimately, that was the biggest move of that offseason, right? They also signed Connor McGovern, right? Center from the New York Jets, right? Very good, very quality center, right? Yeah, very big for their offensive line, very big for them to help protect Mr. Allen, right? New center for Mr. Allen, right? Brand new center. Yeah, Connor McGovern, get ready to learn tush push, buddy. Get ready to learn tush push, buddy. That's what you're about to be doing a lot in Buffalo. Get ready to learn tush push, my friend. A couple of small signings, right? They got Damar Hamlin. They signed Chauncey Gardner. Signed Chauncey Gardner for a 1-year deal. Same thing with Damar Hamlin. Actually, you know what? This is actually kind of a big move for them. So was it last year? I want to say it was last year. It might have been the season. No, it was last year. It was last year or last offseason, right? Buffalo made a trade for Joey Bosa, right? Made a trade for Joey Bosa with the Chargers, right? Ultimately, they were going to have Joey Bosa for 1 year guaranteed, right? Guaranteed was going to have him for 1 year. However, this offseason, right, they signed a 3-year deal with Bradley Chubb, right? Three-year deal with Bradley Chubb. So now that brings the question, right? What happens with Bosa, right? What happens with Bosa? I'm assuming he goes elsewhere, right? But we'll see, right? Ultimately, we'll see, right? Next up, we will be going towards the AFC champs, right? We'll go to the AFC champs right here. The New England Patriots, right? They made a couple of moves, right? They signed Kevin Byard, right? Very quality safety, right? However, only a 1-year deal, right? Only a rental, right? Quality safety they got out of Kevin Byard, though. Let's see, right? And then 2 very big pickups for the Patriots, right? 2 very big pickups for the Patriots, right? Also signing from the Jets, right? The Jets have been giving away their offensive linemen like it's candy at this point. So they signed offensive guard Elijah Vera Tucker, right? Very good guard, right? Very good guard. The Jets had some pieces on their offensive line. The Jets had some pieces on their O line, right? They weren't gonna win shit with that, right? They weren't gonna win shit with just having a good O line, but hey, it's good that the O linemen are leaving the Jets, right? Because nothing good ever happens with being a New York Jet and going to teams like Buffalo and New England where you have a chance to do shit. It is what it is, right? You're just giving yourself a chance, right? Yeah, very big pickup for that offensive line for New England, right? I know pass protection protection in general was a little bit of an issue for New England this past playoff run. However, very good move, right? Very good move for New England. And then the last one I kind of wanted to get into, right, is Romeo Doubs, right? Romeo Doubs. I feel like this free agency, there wasn't a lot of receivers like Romeo Doubs, right? So young, right? So young, having played the wide receiver one role in Green Bay. There wasn't a real wide receiver one in Green Bay, however, but he played that role very well for them. Even though like guys like Christian Watson, Jalen Reed, Jalen Reed, and Dontavian Wicks, right? Dontavian Wicks, Jalen Reed, and Christian Watson, all three of those guys they were all able to produce, right? They're all able to produce in the same offense as a Romeo Doubs, right? Romeo Doubs going into this New England unit, right, with Kyle Williams, right? Keyshawn Butte. And I'm hearing a lot of rumors about Stephon Diggs, if he's able to play, right? If he's able to play this next season, right? New England is interested, right? New England's interested. If they're able to get Stephon Diggs and Romeo Doubs still on the team, right? And you still have guys like Kyle Williams, right? They look kind of nice. Right? They look kind of nice, right? Drummond Jones, also D lineman. I believe he's a D. I think he's a tackle, right? I believe he's a tackle. Drummond Jones. Wasn't he a Jet also? Wasn't he a Jet? I swore Drummond Jones. Wasn't he a Jet? Oh, no. He was not a Jet. He was not a Jet. I was so wrong. He was not a Jet this past season. Yeah, he was a Raven. He was a Raven, right? Right, plays like in and outs of, plays a lot of different roles, right? Plays a lot of different roles. Yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? Me personally, I'm not giving a 32-year-old, right, all that money, right? I'm not giving a 32-year-old all that money. However, shit, New England, right? New England, shit. Next up, Miami, right? We'll go with Miami first, right? Miami and New York made a lot of moves, right? Because they both lost a lot of people, right? Miami lost a lot of people throughout the year and this free agency. The Jets just lost a lot of people in general. Right? There isn't one particular side of the coin where they lost a lot of people, right? They just lost a lot of people in general. Right. So the Dolphins, right? They re-signed a lot of people, right? A lot of defensive pieces, right? They signed Jalen Tolbert, right? For whatever much he's worth, right? Jalen Tolbert. We're good, right? We're good. Oh no, we are not good. We're not good, right? I'm seeing we good up here. However, okay, we're decent. Yeah, so some of the bigger additions that they made, right? They re-signed a lot of people, right? Traded away a lot of people, right? There's not gonna be any Jalen Waddle, no Tyreek Hill, right? However, with Jalen Waddle and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Evans both out, right? They replaced them both with the intense production of Tutu Atwell and Jalen Tolbert, right? But I know Malik Willis came into this team. By the way, that's the big free agent acquisition for Miami, right? Is Malik Willis, right? I know he's fucking pissed coming into the team. Like, damn, bitch, you live like this? Damn. Yeah, this is what the fuck I came to, right? I came to have Tutu Atwell and Malik Washington compete for wide receiver 1. What the fuck? Um, yeah, I mean they gave me Malik Willis a pretty decent contract, right? He was commanding a lot of money. Malik Willis, I didn't understand why, but I mean, shit, go get your bag, right? Go get your bag, Malik Willis. Go get your fucking bag. Um, and yeah, I mean, good luck to Malik Willis and Devon Achane this year, yeah. Good luck to those two cats. Good luck to those two cats, right? They will be needing a whole lot of Jesus. And yeah. We'll see. We'll see what goes on from here, right? Going to the worst team of the NFL, right? Worst team of the NFL, biggest stain of the NFL, right? Biggest shit stain of the NFL. Biggest turd of the NFL, right? The New York Jets, right? The most irrelevant team, right? The team of a million rebrands, right? The team of a million rebrands. All of them suck. All of them suck, right? All of them are just as good as a team, right? They fucking suck, right? Get into the moves that they made, right? The moves that they've attempted to fix this team with, right? They got Minka Fitzpatrick in a trade, right? Was it a good trade? I mean, it was a 7th round pick, right? You got a pretty good safety for a 7th round pick. However, it was mainly because they did not want to pay that guy. You gave him a little money, right? I mean, who else were you gonna pay, right? Who else were you gonna pay, right? They signed Nashawn Wright, the biggest fraud of the NFL this past season. Nashawn Wright. Nashawn Wright is kind of like a Trayvon Diggs, right? Kind of like a Trayvon Diggs, kind of like a Deron Bland style of corner, right? We will give up a bunch of yards. We'll give up a bunch of yards, a bunch of catches, right? But that pick though, that pick six though, right? That pick six, that forced fumble though, right? The ultimate cheater, right? Cheater in the sense of they're looking for turnovers, right? They're looking for turnovers at any cost possible, right? I feel like this is a perfect team for him, right? Perfect team for him to do this shit with, right? Looking for turnovers, right? Because you could do that shit with the Jets, right? Because it's not like you give up a touchdown, right? You're the Jets, right? Like you were gonna give that shit up eventually. Like no big deal, right? No big deal. Other defensive players that they've signed, right? They signed Joseph Asai on a big 3-year deal. Joseph Asai coming from the Colts, right? Coming from the Colts, right? Is this like a silent part of the Sauce Gardner trade, right? Who knows, right? Yeah, Joseph Asai signing for a 3-year, $36 million deal. That's a lot of money for Joseph Asai, man. Yeah, we'll get into it. Get into it, right? David Onyemata signing for a pretty big 1-year deal, right? Or a decent size 1-year deal, or a decent size compared to what the other guys have been getting on the D line, right? That D line market has inflated into unethical regions this offseason. Yeah, David Onyemata just adding to the New Orleans adding to the Saint to Jet pipeline, right? Or the Jet to Saint pipeline. I don't know how it just works both ways, right? It works both ways, right? Speaking of the Saint to Jet parlay, right? Demario Davis coming back to the Jets, right? Demario Davis, the only Jet that I can respect, right? One of the few Jets I can ever respect, right? I'm assuming this is kind of like a retirement contract for Demario Davis, right? 2 year, $22 million, right? I mean, who the fuck else were they going to give this money to, right? Who the fuck else were they going to give this money to, right? So I'm glad Demario Davis got a little one last payday, right? 15 mil guaranteed. Mario Davis, do your thing, my boy. Do your thing. Get that bag. Steal that money from that retirement home. I feel you, Demario Davis. I feel you. Last guy on the defensive side, right, is Vondre Sweat, right? Vondre Sweat coming from the Titans, right? He was pretty decent in some packages, right? But just pretty decent in some packages, right? We'll see, right? They made a lot of moves on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, maybe they're good defensively, right? Maybe they're good defensively. However, this offense, right, having lost the amount of offensive pieces that you had, right? Elijah Vera Tucker and Connor McGovern, right? They just re-signed a bunch of guys, right? On their the guys that they had left, right? They just re-signed some of them, and Dylan Parham ended up sacrificing his career to be a part of the Jets O-line. We'll see with that, right? Geno Smith is a Jet again, right? Geno Smith, part of them, I almost said it. I almost said it and got my stream clipped up and shit, right? I almost said it, right? Shit. I almost said it, right? I almost said it. Bro, it looked like I was fat for a second. It looked like I was fat for a second when I was picking up that shirt. It looked like I was fat. I am not, bro. Do shit. Do it. Shit, do it look like I'm fat? Do it look like I'm fat, right? Do it look like I'm fat? I am not fat. Geno Smith, homecoming. Yeah, we'll see, right? We'll see. Maybe a certain somebody can avenge himself from the dead that people don't think that he's dead, right? But they announced that he's dead, right? The certain somebody that committed suicide, right? We'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens with Geno Smith, right? I wonder, is he going to be in a quarterback comp? Is he going to be in a quarterback battle with Justin Fields, or what? What's going to be up with that, right? And then finally, Breece Hall receiving the franchise tag. My brother, Breece Hall. Jesus is on your side. You will get out of there. You will soon get out of there eventually, right? Jesus is on your side. You'll soon make it out. Going over to the Baltimore Ravens now. Moving on to the AFC North. If I have to give a prediction of who I think makes it out, or at least who I think wins the division for the AFC East, it's just me, but I like the Bills, right? I do think that the acquisition of one DJ Moore will make a big difference, right, in the terms of how the standings will look, right? I think the Patriots, they're good enough to be a playoff team, right? Ultimately, we'll see, right? They'll be a good enough team to make the playoffs, right? But I do think that the Buffalo Bills will win that division. Moving on to the AFC North, we have the Baltimore Ravens, right? The Baltimore Ravens, not a lot of moves, right? They very infamously backed out of the Max Crosby trade, right? They're trying to make it seem like it was a medical thing, right? Ultimately, you just got to say what it is, right? They backed out, right? It is what it is, right? You guys backed out, right? Ultimately, that's just what happened, right? They made a lot of weird moves, right? Because they lost, right? They lost. These fucking tight ends are fucking killing me, right? They lost Charlie Color, right? It was a blocking tight end, but this year he was starting to get a lot of run, though. And the big one that they lost was Isaiah Likely, right? They lost Isaiah Likely. Yeah, huge deficit for that offense. However, they tried to put a band-aid over it by signing Durham Smith, right? Durham Smith, right? If you aren't familiar with his work, right? He was a Dolphin, right? This past season, I don't recall where he was this past season. I don't know if he was still with the Dolphins, but yeah, pretty forgettable player, right? Pretty forgettable player, not fantasy relevant whatsoever, right? Pretty forgettable player. And yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if Durham Smith can replace the production of both Isaiah Likely and Charlie Color, right? Besides him, signing John Simpson was a pretty big deal, right? A pretty big deal. Where are you coming from? John Simpson, another Jet. Holy shit. Yeah, that's another Jet. Yeah, another Jet, right? McGovern. Oh, shit. Did I lost my page? I lost my page? Oh, no, I thought I lost my page, right? So McGovern, John Simpson, Elijah Vera Tucker, right? All three of those guys got big deals out of free agency, all missing from this Jets offensive line, right? Yeah, not good, right? Not good. Not good for New York, right? Not good for New York. We are praying for the safety of Geno Smith, right? Jesus is on his side. I don't know. Okay, we're doing decent. Hombre, number way. Enrique. I lost my page looking at this Jet reject. Enrique. Oh, shit. Enrique. Shit, bro. Lost my fucking page, right? Lost my page, right? So yeah, pretty big. Okay, we back. All right, pretty big move. Yeah, John Simpson, right? Out protecting Lamar Jackson, right? Opening the lanes for Derrick Henry, right? Yeah, we'll see. Right? Hopefully, Lamar is healthy for the whole full season, right? Yeah, we'll see. See what happens right there. Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Oh wait, no! I forgot. The very last and most important free agency acquisition, right, is Trey Hendrickson, right? Trey Hendrickson ultimately was the guy of the offseason, right? He was the guy of the offseason. Well, the second best guy of the offseason, right? We'll get to the best guy in a minute, right? Yeah, he was the guy for the offseason. At least on the defensive side of the ball, he was the guy. Right, moving from Cincinnati to Baltimore, right? Former Saint as well, Trey Hendrickson. So I'm not seeing a whole lot of this, right? So when Baltimore made that trade for Max Crosby, right? You saw all like the blog posts, you saw all the blogs, right? You saw first takes and shit like that, talking about how, oh, these Baltimore Ravens, they're going to be a problem, right? They're going to be a problem, right? Because they got a defensive pass rusher. Pass rushers don't play offense, right? Because they got a pass rusher, right? People were or at least they got Max Crosby as a pass rusher, right? People were like automatically thinking like, oh man, Baltimore is going to be a problem, right? They're going to be a problem, right? But yet the deal gets nixed, right? The deal gets nixed, and then immediately they sign Trey Hendrickson, right? All that talk, it like vanished. What the fuck was that? What was all that talk, right? What was all that talk? What? Why? Because Trey Hendrickson isn't the name that Max Crosby is? Like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this, right? The fuck? That didn't make any sense to me. By the way, I was not one of those people that were talking about how the Ravens just fucking solved everything, right? With that Max Crosby move, right? Does it make their defense better, right? You bet your fucking ass it does, right? Or like Trey Hendrickson, right? It does make their defense a whole lot better. However, was defense a problem? Was defense the problem? Cause on the top of my head, I'm thinking, what isn't the problem? Their lack of pass catchers? Isn't that their issue? That they don't have a whole lot of like Bateman's cool, right? Zay Flowers, right? Bateman and Zay Flowers do the same shit, right? They do the same shit. Ultimately, they do the same shit, right? They're good long ball receivers, right? Zay Flowers can, he can possession a little bit, right? He can run the X a little bit, right? To me, he's not a one, right? To me, he's not a one. See, that's their main thing, is that the Ravens don't have a one, right? I don't think you win a championship with Zay Flowers being your number one receiver. That's just me, right? That's just me. Like they might be good enough to like win this little weak ass division, right? But like, are they going to win this Super Bowl, right? I don't think so. I don't think so. They can maybe make a Super Bowl. Maybe they can make one, right? Maybe they can, especially this year, right? This year with no Kansas City, right? I mean, maybe they can make it. Do I think they're going to win it, though? No. I don't think they're going to win it. But, I mean, shit. The age-old question. We'll fucking see, right? Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals, right? The Cincinnati Bengals made a couple of moves, right? Made a couple of decent moves, right? They signed Orlando Brown to a 2-year deal, right? Orlando Brown's a pretty decent O-lineman, right? They re-signed Flacco, right? Their little backup quarterback, right? This is the first quarterback I kind of went over that's not Malik Willis, right? Because Malik Willis, well, we went over Geno, right? We went over Geno, right? Fucking Geno. That poor soul, right? That poor soul. He got drafted by the Jets, and now he has a slight emotional attachment to the Jets. That poor soul. That poor thing, man. That poor thing. What the fuck? Oh, okay. Bro, there was a weird ass noise going on. Nah, they just vacuumed me. At the crib. So Orlando Brown, right? Pretty good move for their offensive line, right? I like that move for Orlando Brown, right? They made some. So they sacrificed Trey Hendrickson, right? Trey Hendrickson, big potential contract, right? They sacrificed that to sign a couple of defensive players to make up for just Trey Hendrickson, right? Pretty decent move. Pretty decent idea, right? Signing a 3-year deal for Boy Fay, right? Boy May, right? Boy May, coming from the Super Bowl champions. Yeah, he had himself a pretty decent season, right? He had himself a pretty decent season. Worthy of a payday, right? Yeah, no, it was a worthy payday, right? It was a worthy payday, right? Um, yeah, let's see what him and Jonathan Allen from the Commanders signing for a 2-year deal, right? He had a pretty decent season himself, right? Jonathan Allen, coming from the defensive tackle position. Uh, another pretty decent move, right? They signed Brian Cook, right? Another Jet that left, right? 3-year deal, 40 million, 18 mil in that year one. Yikes, yikes. Big investment to that safety position, right? Cincinnati secondary was one of the better secondaries in the NFL, right? So I mean, adding a safety, right? We'll see what happens next year with their defense, right? To see if their defense is looking nice, right? Since he ultimately has Joe Burrow, they have Jamar Chase, the T Higgins, the Chase Brown still. So I mean, they still got their boys. They still got their boys, right? Yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? Moving on to the Cleveland Browns, right? The Cleveland Browns made some moves, right? Made a whole lot of nothing moves, right? They got Titus Howard, O lineman for the Texans in a trade, right? Pretty, very good offensive lineman for the Browns now. Very good offensive line, very good move by them, right? They signed Zion Johnson from the Zion Johnson from the Chargers, right? Gave him a pretty decent payday, right? Elgin Jenkins from the, I believe, the Packers. I want to say it was the Packers. Could be wrong. No, yeah, coming from the Packers, right? Elgin Jenkins, right? New center for Shador, right? New center for Shador, right? You feel me? Yeah, ultimately we'll see how that offensive line is looking. Made a lot of moves for that offensive line, right? A lot of moves for that offensive line. Um, they re-signed a whole bunch of guys, right, on their defense. Not really a whole lot of moves, right? They signed the main defensive move that the Browns made was signing Quincy Williams, right? Another Jet leaving, another Jet leaving. Yeah, they made a lot of moves on their offensive line, right? They signed Tylan Wallace from the Ravens, right? We'll see how he looks in a bigger role, right? But ultimately, I don't think this is enough to start winning anything with Shador, right? But yeah, we'll see, right? We'll see, especially in this division, right? With the defense that Pittsburgh has, right? Maybe the offense isn't really up to par, right? But I mean, with the defense that Pittsburgh has, right? With the defense that the Bengals are trying to build, right? And the offensive pieces that the Bengals still have, and then you just factor in the Ravens just being the Ravens, right? Um, yeah, I mean, we'll see what the Browns look like this next season, but I'm not counting on it. Definitely not counting on it. And that brings us to the the last team of the AFC North is the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? The Pittsburgh Steelers made a couple of moves, or they made a lot of moves actually. The Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Re-signing a lot of cats, right? Asante Samuel, right? Darnell Savage, Jamal Dean, right? A lot of re-signees. Cameron Hayward gets a little 2-year deal, right? Yeah, 90-year-old Cam Hayward getting a 2-year deal, right? Not too much moves on the offensive line. However, they made some moves on the running back position. They lost Kenneth. They ended up losing Kenneth Gainwell, right? It was a very big part of their running/receiving core, right? Very big part of that. All of that, what they were building with Rodgers. However, his replacement is going to be Rico Dowdle, right? Rico Dowdle, right? We know Rico Dowdle is a let's call it what it is, right? He's a little bit more of an efficient runner than Kenneth Gainwell is. However, is he going to be the pass catcher that Kenneth Gainwell is? I know Rico can do it, right? I know Rico can do it, but at the same level as the Kenneth Gainwell, right? At the same level, right? You got to remember, right? Kenneth Gainwell was the leading receiver for the Steelers this past season, right? As a running back, leading receiver. Yeah, or at least leading reception receiver. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if Rico Dowdle can take that load on and take that role moving forward, right? And then finally, ultimately, they ended up making the trade with the Colts for wide receiver 1, Michael Pittman. He will not be on this team playing wide receiver 1, however, but nonetheless, right, Pittman gets to get out of that wide receiver 1 role, right? Ultimately conceding it to Alec Pierce, right? Yeah, Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf duo, right? We couldn't get a George Pickens and DK Metcalf duo, right? I mean, Pittman and DK. I mean, that's. We'll settle. We could settle for that, right? We could settle for that, right? The Black Air Forces can settle for that ultimately. Is that gonna be the play, right? Ultimately we'll see, right? I mean, it sounds pretty good, right? Pittman and DK, right? However, the cloud that's kind of looming over the Pittsburgh Steelers is Aaron Rodgers going to sign with the Steelers, right? Or are they going to try to move up in the draft to get a quarterback, right? That remains to be seen, right? Because we are seeing that we're seeing that Ty Simpson, right? Alabama quarterback, right? He looked very good. He looked very good during the college season, right? He's been having a very good combine season as well, right? Getting a lot of different looks from a lot of different players, a lot of different personnel, right? We've seen a lot of analysts talk about how Ty Simpson could potentially even be the best quarterback of the draft, right? I do think this is more so of teams not getting a whole lot of looks at Fernando Mendoza, right? Fernando Mendoza's kind of been like reserving himself a little bit because ultimately he knows he's going to be a Raider, right? He knows he's going to be a Raider. So, right, he knows he's going to be a Raider, right? Why the fuck do I have to work out for like the Jets, right? Like, what do I have to show for like the Jets or the Steelers or like the fucking like the Giants or something? Like what do I got to show for those teams, right? Nothing, mate. Nothing, mate. Like the Cardinals, like you're picking like in the end of the first round, like I mean the end of the top 10, like bro, kick rocks. Yeah. Ultimately, we all know how this game goes, right? We've seen this way too many times with Aaron Rodgers, right? The more he waits, right? The more he waits, it's not beneficial towards the team, right? It is what it is, right? They tried signing. They got Mike McCarthy as their new head coach to try to sweeten the deal, right? I don't think that's exactly sweetening shit. I don't think that's gonna be sweetening anything, right? But yeah. We'll see. We'll see, right? In this division, right? Ravens or Bengals. That's ultimately what's gonna come down to. Ravens or Bengals, right? Ultimately, it comes down to which quarterback stays healthy. Right? Which one of them stays healthy, right? The Bengals or the Ravens. So I said the Bills are going to win the East, right? The Bills are going to win the East. I like the Bengals. I don't know. Yeah, I like the Bengals. I changed my mind. Yeah, I like the Bengals. I like the Bengals for the North, right? I like the Bengals for the North. However, ultimately what's going to come down to is if Burrow's hurt for most of the year, right? It's going to be the Ravens, right? If Lamar's hurt for most of the season, right? Bengals got it in the bag, right? But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the injuries and all that, right? We will be moving on to the AFC South, right? Moving on to the AFC South, right? We have the Houston Texans, right? Houston Texans, right? Um, lost a couple of offensive linemen, right? Lost a couple of offensive linemen, right? They got a couple of like band-aid fixes, right? Signed Wyatt Teller, right? Ed Ingram, right? Ed Ingram gave him a little bit of a contract, right? Braden Smith, right? Another pretty pretty decent little contract, pretty little fat contract, right? For Braden Smith, right? A lot of just band-aids in general, right? A lot of just band-aids in general for this Houston Texans offensive line, right? Looking at the tight end position, right? They resigned, or they gave an extension to Dalton Schultz, right? Got Foster Moreau from the Saints, right? Um, I mean, right. And then probably the big one for the offense would be the trade for David Montgomery, right? David Montgomery ultimately wasn't. We know it was no secret, right? He wasn't really happy with the way that things were, or at least the season was ending with the Lions, right? His role as the season progressed, right, it diminished, right? They started giving more loads to. I couldn't say that seriously. I could not say that seriously, right? Giving more loads to. I try to do it again. They've been playing Jahmyr Gibbs a whole lot more than they used to be doing the double back system, right? So ultimately, it was going to come off with the price of David Montgomery leaving or asking for a trade, right? Ultimately, he asked for a trade towards the end of the season, right? Wasn't going to be able to grant it until season ended. And yeah, here we are. He gets traded to the Texans, right? Where he will be competing with Woody Marks and Nicholas Chubb. Not really Nicholas Chubb, but he will be competing with Woody Marks. And see, that is a two-back system that I like, right? Because we know that, right, Woody Marks, he's good, right? He's good, but I wouldn't necessarily deem him. I wouldn't deem him the running back one put like so safely, right? Wouldn't really have him labeled as that so safely. On the defensive side of things, right? They made a lot of moves on the defensive side, right? Re-signed LJ Speed, re-signed Sheldon Rankins, right? Naquan Jones re-signed, and yeah, the two big ones for this Texans defense, right? They signed Reed Blankenship to a 3-year deal, right? Reed Blankenship, right? Gonna play some safety for the Houston Texans, right? Pretty big. It's kind of a big need for the Houston Texans, right? We'll see. We'll see, right? It's kind of the last position on the secondary that they needed, right? As for the edge rusher, right? So the Texans kind of broke the market right here by signing Danielle Hunter to a 1-year, $40 million extension, right? $40 million for 1 year, right? And includes just $30 million just to sign the contract, right? $30 million just to sign the contract. I mean, shit. Like, he was good, but like, shit. that's kind of my take on it. Like, he was good. Like, he was very good this past season. But shit. Fuck. That was a lot. That was a whole lot for them, right? Moving on to the Jaguars, right? The Jaguars lost a whole lot of pieces, right? A whole lot of pieces lost to the Jaguars, right? We won't really get into all those pieces, right? All like right now, right? We'll get into it like when we get to those pieces that they've lost, right? Ultimately, they re-signed. It was a pretty nothing off season for the Jags, right? They re-signed a whole bunch of people, right? Signed one guy, right? Signed one guy. It was Chris Rodriguez from the Commanders, right? Signed Chris Rodriguez with the Commanders. I mean, so they lost. They lost Echan, right? They lost Echan. Yeah, they lost Echan, and their replacement is Chris Rodriguez Jr., right? Yeah, yeah. Okay. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see, right? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. That was a pretty disaster. To me, that's a pretty disaster offseason for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But again, let's see. Right? Let's see. Let's see. Right? Not a good offseason for this Jaguars team, right? Unless they make some big news in the draft, right? Pretty disappointing, right? Very disappointing. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans, right? Moving on to the Tennessee Titans, right? They made a lot of moves for this Tennessee Titans team, right? We'll go and start with the defensive side of things, right? Um, they completely changed their cornerback room, right? Completely changed their cornerback room. Corner was a huge weakness for the Tennessee Titans this past year, right? They were getting beat like this, right? Getting beat like this, right? And ultimately, they signed 3 cornerbacks to overnight change their secondary, right? They signed Cordell Flott from the Giants, 3-year deal for Cordell Flott. Alontae Taylor, another 3-year deal, right? This one worth a little bit more, right? Alontae Taylor, um, young corner makes a lot of plays, right? Had not this past season, right? The season before that had a fucking brilliant season for the New Orleans Saints, right? This past season, mid at best. But yeah, we'll see how that how that secondary looks this next season, right? A lot of different moves for that secondary. And then their D line, right? Ultimately, their D line, last big part of their free agency move, right? They signed the GM. The GM had to have asked the coaching staff, like, how many D linemen you want to sign, and the Titans just fucking said yes, right? The answer to that question was yes for the Titans, right? Titans acquiring Solomon Thomas from a trade, right? Acquiring Jermaine Johnson from a trade, right? Jacob Martin signed for a 2-year deal, and then the big one for that for that defensive line, John Franklin Myers, right? John Franklin Myers, very good, pretty good season for the Denver Broncos, right? A huge part of why that Denver Broncos defense was so dominant this past season. Yeah, 3-year deal for John Franklin Myers. Yeah, we'll see how that defense looks this next season, right? So made a lot of moves, right? Hopefully, we can provide a little bit of help for Mr. Cameron Ward, right? And speaking of Mr. Cameron Ward, right? They made a lot of offensive moves as well as on the defensive side, right? They got a new center under Cameron Ward, Austin Schlottman. 2-year deal, right? Got him booed up for a little bit. And then some of the tight end moves, right? Kylan Granson, right? He's either with the Colts or the Eagles, one of those teams. Either way, not really that big of a season this past season, right? Not really big season this past season for Kylan Granson. However, signing Daniel Bellinger from the Giants, right? One of 3 Giants signed from the Tennessee Titans, right? Probably because of Dayball's influence coming to the Tennessee Titans. Daniel Bellinger, right? He broke out this past season, right, with Jackson Dart under center for the Giants, right? With another quarterback in that same draft class now. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how good Bellinger is for the Titans, right? They also have Titan Gunnar Helm too, who had a pretty decent season this past year. Um, yeah, we'll see how that Titan room looks on this next season. Titan. I'm funny, right? I'm funny. Um, and I've said funny shit before. That was not funny. Yeah, Wandell and finally Wandell Robinson signing for a 4-year deal. I mean, shit. He had a fucking he broke out this past season. He broke out this past season. He had a band receiving yards, right? Um, we got him a weapon, right? We got Cameron Ward a weapon, right? Ultimately, we'll see what happens for Tennessee this next season, right? Finally, to get into or to finish off all the free agency moves, right? We have the Indianapolis Colts, right? Finish all the free agency moves, right? I'm mainly talking, well, mainly talking about the AFC South, right? Yeah, so the Colts, right? The Colts, not a southern team, by the way. The Colts start from the defensive side, right? A lot of defensive moves for the Colts. Ultimately signing Arden Key, right? 2-year deal for Arden Key, right? Um, Cam Taylor Britt from signing Cam Taylor Britt from the Bengals is another key move, right? Jonathan Owens. They re-signed a lot of guys too. A lot of these guys they have re-signed with the Colts, and Colby Woolen from the Packers in a trade for Zaire Franklin, right? Zaire Franklin was a pretty big piece, pretty big linebacker for the Colts. So, yeah, we'll see how big that loss is for them. And moving on to the offensive side, right? The offensive side, they signed a whole lot of nothing receivers, right? The big moves on the offensive side was mainly really re-signing Alec Pierce, right? Giving him a 4-year, $116 million deal. I get like this when I talk about the Alec Pierce move because of what that means for because ultimately, right, you see a move like that, right? Alec Pierce signing for like almost like for 29 mil a year, right? You see a move like that, and then you have people like and then there's people like Chris Olave, right, who look at the production that Alec Pierce has given throughout his career, right? You have somebody like Chris Olave who's looking for an extension, right? You have somebody like him who's just licking his chops, looking at this 4-year, 116 million deal. I mean, I really don't think it's a good contract to begin with, right? I don't think it's a good contract. Not that a wide receiver shouldn't deserve that money, right? It's just I don't think Alec Pierce in particular deserves this money, right? But the problem was that Alec Pierce, somebody was going to give him this contract, right? Somebody was going to give him that money, right? So, my teeth are looking very, very, very CTE like. My teeth are looking very CTE right now. Like you can tell, if I smile, right? If I smile, you can genuinely tell I have it. You can genuinely tell I have it just from the smile. You can genuinely tell I have it, right? Shit. Yo, we're glitching like crazy. We're glitching like shit right now. We're glitching like shit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna get into the NBA today. I don't think I'm gonna get into the NBA today. I think I'm just gonna do this and NFL and call it. Especially if my shit's gonna look like this tomorrow. Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. Not a fan. Yeah, definitely not a fan. Can't even lock in to do this shit because I'm seeing my stream and it's very laggy, incredibly laggy. Ah, shit. Damn, this is some laggy ass shit right here. And then if it corrects it or some shit, like what happens then, right? Like, come on. The lag is insane. The lag is insane, right? Like here it looks cool, right? But the lag is insane, right? All right, whatever. So last thing I want to go over with the Colts, right, is they re-signed Daniel Jones, right? Whoop-de do, yeah, whatever, right? They re-signed Daniel Jones, right? That was the right move, right? That was the right move ultimately, right? A 2-year deal, right? Masterclass, right? Masterclass from the Colts, right? Masterclass from the Colts organization. The problem with this, though, is that so we're looking at this QB room, right? We're looking at this Indianapolis Colts QB room, right? So we got Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, right? Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, and we have Riley Leonard. All right, we have Riley Leonard, right? We don't have Rivers anymore. Do not have Rivers anymore. These are the 3 dudes that we have in that room right now, right? Unless if there's some practice turd that I'm forgetting about, right? So we got these 3, right? Now the problem I'm having is, right? So we know Daniel isn't gonna play really next year, right? We know he isn't gonna really be playing next year, right? And throughout this whole offseason, right, you guys have been trying to give up Anthony Richardson, right? I mean, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. You're trying to pawn him off, right? You're trying to pawn him off, trying to get as much value as you can. And then Riley Leonard. Yeah. I just want to know who's going to be playing quarterback for you guys next year. I just want to know that, right? Like, are you going to be committed to an Anthony Richardson year, right? Is that what we're going to do? Or, yeah, what's up? What's up with this, right? What is up with this coming year, right? Yeah, ultimately, when I look at the grand scheme of all these moves, right, I know Liam Cohen, right, is like a genie, a crafty little genie, right, for this Jacksonville team. However, just going off of the moves that have been made, right, and the people that Jacksonville have lost, right, but it'd be stupid for me not to say that the Texans are going to win that division, right? It'd be stupid for me not to say that. But yeah, ultimately we'll see. Ultimately, we will see, right? We will see. We will see, right? Last division in the AFC, right? To go on about is the let's say the Denver Broncos. That's the team I'm going into next, right? It's the AFC West. AFC West, right? We're gonna start with the Denver Broncos. Just mentioned them right now, right? The Denver Broncos. The moves that the Denver Broncos made, right? They made a lot of nothing moves, right? They re-signed Dobbins, right? They re-signed McLaughlin, right? Re-signed Jordan Humphrey, right? Re-signed Troutman, Singleton, Snard, right? That linebacker, right? However, the big blockbuster move that the Broncos made was signing Jalen Waddle, right? Now, Jalen Waddle, huge piece for this Denver Broncos team, right? Jalen Waddle has flashed a ton of potential, right? Ton of potential. However, the problem was he was in Miami, right? He was in Miami, right? His quarterback was Tua Tagovailoa, right? It is what it is, right? His quarterback was Tua. And now his quarterback is Bo Nix, right? Now Bo Nix has a pretty good offensive line, right? He's working with another weapon in Cortland Sutton, right? Very good run game too with RJ Harvey, Dobbins coming back. McLaughlin's a pretty good runner too, but RJ Harvey too with them. This team's looking like a problem, right? This team's looking more and more like a problem, right? They lost a couple of pieces on the defensive end, right? Like Franklin Myers, right? They lost a couple pieces, right? But this team's a problem. Right? Like that Jalen Waddle move, it does a lot for them. Like, I'm sorry to say, but it does a lot. Really, the only move that the Broncos have made, right, was that move, but that's all they really need, right? That's all they really need. I said earlier in the stream, talking about Justin Fields and Geno Smith competing for that quarterback spot. Totally forgot that Justin Fields is on the Chiefs this next year, right? So the Chiefs make that move for Justin Fields, right? Signed Kenneth Walker to that 3-year deal. Also signing DeMercado too from the Cardinals, right? Signing DeMercado from the Cardinals. Re-signing Tyquan Thornton, who's having a pretty decent season, right? Re-signing Travis Kelce, right? 3-year deal for Travis Kelce, might I add. 3-year deal. So are we getting 3 years out of Travis Kelce? Is that what's about to happen? We're getting 3 years out of him. We'll see. And yeah, I mean, pretty decent offensive moves, right? On the defensive side, right? Chris Tonga, 3-year deal thrown at him, and Gilman. Oh, who did he play for? Gilman had himself a pretty good season, fantasy wise. He had himself a pretty good season, right? Gilman signing. Doing my best. What's face? Doing my best. Steve Belichick impression. Oh yeah. So Gilman kind of spent his time both on the Chargers and the Ravens this past season, right? He had himself a pretty decent season, fantasy wise. He had himself a pretty decent season. So that 3-year deal for him, yeah, we'll see. Ultimately, we'll see what that defense looks like with him and Tonga, right? And Jack Coltrane, right? Jack Coltrane, another pretty decent linebacker, signing with the Chiefs, right? Ultimately, they're gonna have Justin Fields as the quarterback, right? So they're not gonna be as good as what they're like supposed to be, right? And then also the questions about Rashee Rice, like, is Rashee Rice gonna get suspended once again, right? Yeah. Is Rashee Rice going to get suspended once again, right? Rashee Rice being Rashee Rice. We'll see. Right, we'll see. Now looking at the Los Angeles Chargers now. They made a lot of moves, right? A lot of nothing moves, but at the same time, a lot of different moves, right? Just a lot of re-signed contracts. Mostly on the defensive side, a lot of re-signed contracts, right? Like re-signing Khalil Mack, Denzel Perryman, Tony Jefferson, right? A lot of guys re-signing with the Los Angeles Chargers. Re-signing a couple of guys on the offensive side, right? Like Trey Pipkins, right? One of the few good parts of that offensive line, if any, right? If any. Also re-signing Trevor Penning and Cole Strange. That shit stunk. Yeah, they ended up getting Charlie Color, right? Pretty good blocking tight end, right? Going to be a pretty good asset towards the Oronde Gadsden breakout that he had last year, right? Pretty good addition. We'll see what happens there, right? Signing a fullback. He's signing a fullback, right? Now here's the interesting part, right? So we get a fullback out of the Chargers, right? Alec Ingold, fullback, one of the few last few good fullbacks in the league, right? However, right, they're signing Alec Ingold, right? They have Amarion Hampton, right? Amarion Hampton, rookie running back this past season, showed a lot of great things, right? Showing a lot of great things out of Amarion Hampton. And they also signed Keaton Mitchell. Now, here's the thing about Keaton Mitchell, right? Keaton Mitchell is starting to get a little bit more playing time this past season, right? For the Ravens, right? Starting to get a little bit more playing time. He looks nice. If you've seen Keaton Mitchell play football, if you've seen him play football like over the course of his Baltimore career, right? Because he didn't get a whole lot of chances to prove it. However, when he proved it, he looked nice. He looked very, very nice. He looked very efficient, very good ball vision, great speed. I was looking for him to get on a team like more so where he has a better chance of being like the guy, right? Like if he would have signed with like the Cardinals or whatever, right? A 1-2 punch with Amarion Hampton and Keaton Mitchell, however, it's kind of a problem, right? Like, dare I say, it's kind of a problem, right? And when you bring in the fact that they still have Justin Herbert, right? They still have Ladd McConkey, right? Still have Quentin Johnson. Teams looking a little bit of a problem, right? Right? So, yeah, ultimately we'll see what the Chargers look like this next season. But I mean, I like the moves that they made offensively. I like some of the moves that they made, right? If they can draft like another offensive lineman, right? If they can draft another offensive lineman, I'd give that an A offseason for the Chargers, right? Like they made themselves some moves, right? Some moves they made themselves, right? A final team to go over for the AFC, right? Final team before going over the NFC divisions, right? Is the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the biggest thing for the Las Vegas Raiders is they have the number one pick, right? They have the number one pick. We know who it's going to be at this point. We know it's going to be Fernando Mendoza, right? It's no surprise, right? If you're surprised by that, seek God, right? Seek God if you're surprised. They made a lot of moves. They signed a lot of guys to some long contracts, right? A lot of it on the defensive side, right? Signing Quay Walker, right, to a 3-year deal. Signing Nakobe Dean to a 3-year deal, right? Signing Kwity Paye to a multi-year deal, right? A lot of different moves on the defensive side of the ball, right? And then you look at the offensive side, right? The big move, right, is Fernando Mendoza is going to be the quarterback. However, they got a center for him. They got the free agent acquisition of this offseason, right? The number one guy in free agency this past year was Tyler Lindenbaum, and they got him to a 3-year deal, right? A 3-year deal, a brand new center for their brand new franchise quarterback. Ultimately, who can hate that move, right? Who's gonna hate that move, right? And then on the outside, right, they got Jalen Naylor, right? They gave him a 3-year, $35 million deal. Oh, that shit stunk, though. That shit stunk. I'm applauding them for the center move. However, that wide receiver move fucking stinks, right? That wide receiver move stinks, right? Yeah, not a move for them right there. Not a move for them right there. They signed Connor Hayward, um, more of a fullback type of guy, right, for them, right? We'll see how he does for Ashton Genty, right? And ultimately, they got their guy back, right? They got the guy back from the trade, right? They got Max Crosby back from the trade. I think Max Crosby now is seeing like the moves, like these type of moves, right? Signing the N'Kobe Deans, right? Signing the Quay Walkers, right? Getting a center for their number one, they're gonna be number one pick, Fernando Mendoza, right? I'm pretty sure he saw all these moves and he's thinking like, oh, I mean, we won't be terrible, right? I mean, they're not gonna be good this next year, right? Probably, but they might not be bad though. They might not actually be bad, right? Like depending on what happens with Pat, right? They might not be the worst team in this division, right? Who knows? Who fucking knows, right? However, this division is stacked. This division is stacked. So GG's, good luck for the Raiders. I do want to point this out though. I do want to point this particular move out. So there is a rumor, right? There was a rumor with the Las Vegas Raiders that they kind of looked over a deal with the Cowboys, right? I want to add, I'm not a Cowboys fan too. I just want to add, like, right here, this is what it is right here. This is what it is. This is not Cowboy County right here. This is NO. This is New Orleans Saints County right here. However, so the Cowboys offered up what was it? They have like the 12th pick, I think. They have the 12th pick this year. They offered that and another first next year for Max Crosby, right? Now the thing is, right? If you're gonna trade Max Crosby, right? You want to trade him away, right? You want to trade him away from the AFC, right? That's just ideally what you want to do, right? You're getting 2 first rounders for that. 2 first rounders. I want to say it was 3, right? But I know it was 2 for sure. I know for a matter of fact it was 2, right? It might have been 3. You were gonna potentially get 2 first rounders on top of that, a lottery pick. Is that how you say that in NFL terms? Right? A lottery. I just say it like in all sports, right? A lottery pick, right? A lottery pick, right? Like a top 15, top 14 pick. And you pass that up. You pass that up to do that little weak ass trade with the Ravens. What the fuck is wrong with you? All right, what the fuck is wrong with you? Right? Because here's the thing, right? Here's the thinking, right? So like you're gonna still have that number 1 pick, right? You're gonna still have that number 1 pick in Fernando Mendoza, right? And then you get that 12th overall pick, right? You get that 12th overall pick. You know you can get a decent receiver, and not just a decent. You can get a nice receiver with that 12th pick, right? I don't know if Carnell Tate's gonna be available by then, but shit, Makai Lemon. You're getting either Makai Lemon, Jordan Tyson with that 12th pick. On a team where your wide receiver 1 is a combination of Jalen Naylor and Trey Tucker, right? That's the guys you have competing for that wide receiver 1, Trey Tucker and Jalen Naylor and like Jack Beck, right? Fucking Jack Beck, right? Yeah. Ultimately, the Raiders got Max Crosby back, but I mean, I think they kind of fumbled there for a little bit. Ultimately, I think they fumbled a little bit, right? But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Ultimately, we'll see. We'll see if that works out for them. I don't think it will, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see, right? My pick for that division, right? My pick for that division this year. I like the Broncos. I like that Jalen Waddle move way too much, right? So yeah, going over, right? I like the Broncos for the West, right? I like the Texans for the South, right? Texans for the AFC South, the AFC North. I like the Bengals. Ultimately, I like the Bengals, right? It could be either the Bengals or the Ravens, right? That's been the story for the past couple of years between that in that division, right? Bengals, Ravens, right? I like the Bengals this year. Broncos, Texans, Bengals, and the AFC East, Bills, right? Give me the Billies. Ultimately, those are the teams I have winning each respective division. Now, going over to the NFC, right? Going over to the NFC, we're only covering 3 divisions for the NFC, right? Because the NFC South, right? You know what I'm saying? You know what time it is, right? You know what time it is with the NFC South. You know what time it is, right? I'm going to give the NFC South its own little video, right? I show love to the NFC South and my NFC South mates, right? I show love, right? I show love. Give me love. Give me love, yeah. Yeah. Moving on to the NFC East, right? NFC East, right? We're gonna start with the Dallas Cowboys, right? The Dallas Cowboys, they re-signed Javonte Williams to a 3-year deal, right? He deserves it, right? He deserves it, of course. He's gonna point this out there, right? He's gonna point this out there, right? Usually, historically, right, when these types of running backs or these types of players, right, they have this like little career resurgence from like a bunch of injuries, right? Ultimately, right, almost every single time they get this big contract, and then an injury comes. And then the injury, it's just the way it works. I don't know how or why or like the science behind it, right? It's just the way it works. It's just the way it works, right? Like it's crazy how it happens, right? But yeah, 3-year deal for Javonte Williams. He deserves it, right? We'll see what happens this next season, right? Well, you know what? I'll get into you last actually because I saw some news from you today. Yeah, let's look at this. Let's look at the defensive guys real quick. Here's the defensive guys real quick. Yeah, they signed edge rusher Rashawn Gary, right? Pretty big move for that. For the edge, right? The Cowboys were looking for an edge rusher, right? They were in the Max Crosby sweepstakes. They were in the Trey Hendrickson sweepstakes at the same time. However, struck out on both of them. Rashawn Gary, I mean, for what the Cowboys already have on their defensive line, signing Rashawn Gary, it's not that bad of a move, right? It's not that bad of a move, right? It's not like Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson or anything, right? It's not that bad of a move, right? It's not that bad of a move, right? It's a pretty solid move for the Cowboys and for the Cowboys defensive line, right? The real kicker for the Cowboys, however, right? Their defensive line, stout, right? It was already stout. They made that move for Rashawn Gary, right? Pretty good move for them, right? They made a lot of secondary moves too, right? They made a lot of secondary moves, right? The biggest weakness this past season for the Cowboys, however, and it's the one position that's not been addressed this offseason is the linebacker position, right? Yeah, right. Not a single move for a linebacker, and you lost Logan Wilson from due to retirement, right? So, yeah. Cowboys fans, get ready for another year of Kenny Murray. Another year of Kenny Murray. Good fucking luck, Cowboys. Yeah, we'll see. But some of the defensive moves that they made, right? Signed Kobe Durant from the Rams, right? Kobe Durant. Darian Kendrick, right? Mid. PJ Locke, mid, right? And then the big move coming out of the safety position is Jalen Thompson from the Cardinals signing for a 3-year deal, right? I mean, he's a pretty good move, right? I mean, maybe them not signing a linebacker is them thinking a little too highly of Jalen Thompson, right? Because I know Jalen Thompson did a lot of hybrid shit for the I just said their team for the Cardinals, right? He did a lot of hybrid shit for them this past season, but yeah. I mean, we'll see. I to me, the Cowboys didn't really strike me as a team who like goes for guys like that who play like a hybrid position, like that linebacker or safety position, right? They didn't really strike me as a team who has a lot of defensive packages for that. But I mean, shit. I mean, he can play safety, so I mean, shit. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the Cowboys, right? They re-signed Brandon Aubrey. Kind of re-signed him, right? It was more so like a IOU, right? Like another way of a franchise tag, right? And then the final thing, speaking of franchise tags, the final thing on the Cowboys plate, right, was franchise tagging George Pickens, right? Ultimately, I don't think they were ready to commit to George Pickens so soon, right? Even though he just had a great season for the Cowboys, right? He just had a great season. However, the argument is that George Pickens wasn't really doing this type of shit until he got to the Cowboys. But you got to remember where he was before, right? He was with the Steelers, right? He was with the Steelers, right? He was like Aaron Rodgers, quarterback, right? Russell Wilson, quarterback. Justin Fields, quarterback. Like, it was rough out there. It was rough out there in Pittsburgh, right? It was rough out there for Pittsburgh, right? Very hard for him to get numbers in general. Yeah. And then we got the news today that the Cowboys don't think that George Pickens will be reporting to camp, right? Yeah, they think that he will not be reporting to camp. Ultimately, we'll see if he does, right? See what happens there. I know George Pickens, like CeeDee Lamb, kind of like that diva wide receiver archetype, right? But yeah, we'll see, right? George Pickens, right? One of my favorite receivers in the league, right? Unfortunately, he is a Cowboy, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Cowboys, right? We'll see what happens with the Cowboys. I don't think they got all that much better than they did last year, but whatever. We'll see with the Cowboys. The next up, we got the New York Giants. Right, the New York Giants made a lot of moves for these New York Giants. Right, they signed fullback Patrick Reichard. Right. Now this move for Patrick Reichard is very fitting because we're seeing a lot of talks that the Giants want to go into being a run-heavy team. Right, a run-heavy team. They signed a lot of receivers, though. Also signed a lot of receivers. We re-signed a lot of receivers, but signed a lot of them too. Yeah, I mean they have the pieces, right? They have Jackson Dart, right, who's more of like a I'll run you the fuck over type of quarterback instead of a Lamar type of quarterback, right? You have Jackson Dart, right? You have Cam Scatterbo, right? Need I say more, right? His name just sounds like CTE, right? And yeah, Tyrone Tracy, right? Tyrone Tracy, very good runner, right? However, very good pass catcher as well. Very good pass catcher as well. He was a receiver in college before playing his last season at Purdue as a running back. So we will see what happens with the running room now that Patrick Reichard is in the mix. Not in the mix in like he's taking touches away, but like in the mix of like of them having a fullback and having like a blocker and all that, right? Yeah, we'll see, right? The receivers that they signed, because they signed a lot of receivers, right? They signed Calvin Austin from the Steelers, right? Who had a pretty big role for them, right? Pretty big role for them. Love to see what he's going to do for this team this coming season, right? Gonna love to see what happens with him, but yeah, right. Re-signing Isaiah Hodges, re-signing Gunner. You couldn't pay me to say that fucking name, right? Re-signing Gunner, right? He was more of like a special teamsman. And then the big receiver for them was signing Darnell Mooney, right? Darnell Mooney looking to play some wide receiver too, right? Yeah, Darnell Mooney as a wide receiver too. Pretty decent move, right? We'll see how that looks next season. Also with Isaiah Likely on the team now. Isaiah Likely with a 3-year, $40 million deal. God damn, $40 million for Isaiah Likely. I do think that's a lot. Just saying, I do think that's a lot. The offensive line, they just re-signed a whole bunch of guys, right? Going into the defense, signing Tremaine Edmonds from the Bears is a pretty big move for the Giants, in my opinion, right? Tremaine Edmonds had a very good season for the Bears. Getting him for 36 3-year. That's a very good move, right? That's a very good move. Hold on. Wait. The fuck happened? Fuck happened? All right, hands up. Hands all the way up now. Okay. What the fuck happened? Thought we just lagged all the way out for a second. All right. Okay. Whatever. All right. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. This top of the morning. So yeah, Tremaine Edmonds, right? Very big move for the Giants defense. A Giants defense that lost a lot of pieces on it. Yeah, and then signing Greg Newsome for a 1-year deal, right? Greg Newsome, pretty decent corner, right? Went from what was it? He played for the Browns and the Jags last season. He played for both of those teams, right? I'm trying to remember what order it was. I think he went from the Browns to the Jags, right? Either way, regardless, no, it was that, right? Regardless, he had a pretty decent season this past season, right? Especially with the Browns, right? Yeah. Greg Newsome, Tremaine Edmonds, and yeah, a lot of special teamers after that. A lot of different moves made from the Giants. Ultimately, we'll see how that looks for them this next season with Cam Scatterboo and Jackson Dart coming back at full strength, as well as Malik Neighbors, right? We'll see how all of that looks together, right? The last two teams made like a laundry list of moves, right? Have the Eagles, right? Start with the Eagles, right? Eagles signing Damian Pierce from the Texans, right? Signing Damian Pierce from the Texans. Signing Marquise Brown. I couldn't even tell you. Oh no, yeah, Marquise Brown, right? Signing Marquise Brown from the Chiefs. Elijah Moore from the Browns. Pretty decent free agency moves from the wide receiver position. We'll see how that looks this next season, right? They lost Jahan Dotson, right? But who gives a shit, right? Who gives a shit? Especially if you got back DJ Moore, right? Who gives a shit if you lost Jahan Dotson, right? The Eagles might have the best tight end room in the National Football League, right? Signing Grant Calcaterra, re-signing Dallas Goedert as well, signing Johnny Muntz and signing Stone Smart, right? The latter of those two being blocking tight ends, right? Yeah, pretty comp tight end room right there, right? Might be the best tight end room in the National Football League. We'll see how that all looks together, right? Especially with the offensive pieces that they already have, right? So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that all looks. Yeah, going on to the defensive side, right? They signed Jordan Davis to a pretty fat contract, as fat as Jordan Davis is. 3 years, $78 million. Not saying that he's not worth it, right? I'm just saying it's a big contract, right? I mean, it is what it is. It's a big contract, right? He kind of deserves it, but it's a little fat contract, right? And some of the last couple of moves that they made, right? They signed Tariq Woolen, right? Tariq Woolen from the Seattle Seahawks, right? Just won a ring. 12-year deal, right? With the max value of 15, right? Not that bad of a deal, right? Especially if it's a 1-year deal, right? Not that bad, right? Tariq Woolen was kind of like a little bit of an X factor, right? Because a lot of fans were kind of shitting on him for his play, but at the same time, he made plays. They're shitting on him for his play, but at the same time, he made some plays though. So, yeah, it's a double-edged sword. as a corner. So I mean, we'll see. We talked about it with Nishan Wright. It's a double-edged sword, but ultimately, we'll see, right? We'll see, right? Marcus Epps from the Atlanta Falcons. That shit stunk. Ugh. Yeah, pretty good moves for the Eagles. And then the final team of this NFC East that just every team made moves, right? Every team made a lot of moves, right? Good Lord. Starting with the start with the offense, right? So the offense just completely changed their running back room overnight, right? They lost Chris Rodriguez. However, they made up for it by re-signing Jeremy Nichols, right? And making the moves to sign Jerome Ford and Rashad White, right? Rashad White, a former teammate of Jaden Daniels, right? A lot of chemistry right there. We'll see how that looks together, right? Ultimately, we'll just see how that looks together, right? I like the move. I really like that move, right? Having Rashad White and Ja'Cory Cross, Bill Krosky, my bad. I'm about to call him by his government name, right? Yeah, having Bill Krosky, Moret, and Rashad White in the backfield, right? Jerome Ford, Jeremy McNichols as well. It's a pretty good backfield. It's a pretty good backfield compared to what they had last year, right? It's a pretty comp backfield, right? The wide receiver moves that they made, right? Re-signing Denami Brown, right? Re-signing Traylon Burks, and also signing Van Jefferson. Pretty nothing moves, right? Signing Chig Okonkwo from the Titans, however, right? Chig looking for an opportunity ultimately, right? Got a 3-year up to a $30 million deal for Chig is fucking crazy. A little crazy, especially because to me, Chig just hasn't proved that much yet, right? He hasn't proved that much. However, he has the opportunity to prove like he's worth all that money, though. So, right, like I like this opportunity for Chig better than the opportunities he had at Tennessee, right? I mean, opportunities, if any, for Tennessee, right? Yeah, Yeah, signing Larmy Tunsil, right? Pretty big for them. Signing Nick Allegretti, right? Pretty big signing for them too on the O line, right? Revamping their O line, right? Also re-signing guys like Andrew Wiley and Chris Paul, right? I like the offensive moves that the Commanders made. I really do. I really like these offensive moves. And then we go to the defensive side. Right? The defensive side is where things get a little bit interesting, right? So the defensive side, right? So you see guys like Chison, right? Clevon Chison, signing from the New England Patriots. Chison had a pretty decent season for these Patriots, right? Pretty decent season out of Chison. I like the shit that he put on tape, right? Odafe Oweh also signing for a 4-year, $100 million deal, right? It's kind of a crazy contract. He had a really good year. He had a very good year. That's just kind of a crazy contract. More of the inflation towards the defensive line market. Yeah, more into the deflation of the defensive line market, right? Signing linebacker Leo Chanel, right? Leo Chanel, actually pretty quality season coming out of these Kansas City Chiefs, right? Signing for 25 mil, 3-year, 25 mil. I like it, right? I like that out of Washington, right? Amik Robertson, corner, like that move a little bit, right? Kilo Witherspoon coming from the Rams, like the move a little bit. And then here's the move, right? Here's a move right here. Odafe Oweh, right? Quality move, right? Tim Settle, forgot to get into him, right? Tim Settle signing for a 3-year deal, right? ultimately helping out with the loss of Jonathan Allen, right? So the Commanders signed my mans right here. They signed my mans, right? They signed my mans right here. They signed Nick Cross, right? Huge Nick Cross fan right here. One of the biggest Nick Cross fans right here. Throw up the cross. Throw up the cross, right? Throw up the crosses for Nick Cross, right? 2-year, $14 million deal, right? That is a fucking steal for Nick Cross. Right, one of the more underrated moves from free agency this season, right? Definitely one of the more underrated moves. However, is that enough for the Commanders to win this division? Is it enough for them to beat the Eagles? Ultimately, that's what it is, right? Commanders, Eagles, right? The Giants could make that step, right? The Cowboys could make that step as well. To me, it's the Commanders and Eagles. That's ultimately what it is for me, right? Unless if Jaden Daniels gets hurt, then it's another Eagle season, right? But folk, I do think it might be another Eagle season. I am thinking it might be another Eagle season. However, I do like how competitive the Commanders can be this coming season. I do love how competitive this team can be. But yeah, no, I like no, I mean the Eagles are just too much. It's just ultimately what it is. The Eagles are just too much for everybody. They're just gonna be too much, or at least everybody in that division, they're gonna be too much. It is what it is, right? It is what it is, right? I'm going to shut off the NBA news. We'll probably get into the NBA next stream. I'm not gonna lie. Probably get into the NBA next stream. Two more divisions to go through. The NFC North and the NFC West. Last two divisions to go through. Take a little bit of a. So going on to the NFC North, right? The NFC North. We're gonna start with the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears lost a lot of they lost a lot of pieces on the defensive side of the ball too. It's mainly where they lost a lot of their guys, right? They lost a lot of their guys on the defense side of the ball, right? Lost a whole lot of their linebackers. They lost a whole lot of their secondary, right? Let's start with the defense, honestly. Secondary, right? So the main thing, right? I think they were cool with letting all the secondary guys go, like the Nashawn Wrights, the Kevin Byards, right? They were cool with losing those guys, right? However, Jalen Jones, nope, and nope. That losing Jalen Jones would be way too much for that defense. It'd be way too much, right? You need a shutdown corner. You just need a shutdown corner. It is what it is. It is what it is. You need a shutdown corner. Next up, they got we signed a whole bunch of guys, right? However, like a whole bunch of lower level guys. However, the big move, they made was signing Kobe Bryant. Kobe! Is signing Kobe Bryant from the Seattle Seahawks for a 3-year, $40 million deal, right? One of the bright spots for that Seattle defense, right? Kobe Bryant. Well-deserved deal, right? See how he fits in with that Chicago secondary. Yeah, we'll see. Losing a bunch of linebackers, however, the saving grace for that linebacker room is the signing of one buck. I shouldn't have paid. Shouldn't have taken that by, right? One of the saving graces for that linebacker room, however, is signing Devin Bush, right? Devin Bush for a 3-year, $30 million deal, right? Devin Bush having a brilliant season for the Cleveland Browns, right? One of the bright spots for the Cleveland Browns in general. Yeah, I do think that's going to be a very good move for Chicago. Is it going to make up for Tremaine Edmonds, right? Is it going to make up for that move? We'll see. Ultimately, we'll see, right? All we can really tell you is that Devin Bush was fully healthy this past season, and Tremaine Edmonds did miss a little bit of time towards the middle of the season before playoff time. However, he was healthy for playoffs. And yeah, a whole bunch of re-signed people for the defensive line. They did sign Neville Gallimore, right? 2-year deal. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this defense looks this next season. They were a pretty good unit this past season. See how it looks this next season. Well, pretty hit or miss last season. Yeah, that's a little better. Pretty hit or miss this past season. Going on to the offense, right? Not a whole lot of offensive moves, right? Signed a lot of their O-line back, right? However, the big move, right? The big move outside of like maybe Khalif Raymond, right? They signed him from the Lions, right? That's more of like a move that just took away a player from a division rival, right? Bro, this lag up here is pissing me off. This lag up here pissing me. Like I have like my peripheral like up there, right? Sometimes like I just see a big ass piece of lag. Big ass piece of lag, yeah. Shit. But yeah, so I mean the big piece on the offensive side, right, that the Bears made was acquiring Garrett Bradbury, center from the New England Patriots, right? Garrett Bradbury, the heart of that New England Patriots offensive line last season, right? Yeah. 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 Pretty good addition for Caleb Williams, right? Pretty good addition for Caleb Williams. We'll see how that ends up looking for them next season, right? Next up, we got the Lions, right? The Lions didn't really make a whole lot of moves, right? A whole lot of moves, really. On the defensive side, really, we signed a lot of their guys, right? A lot of the guys they had last season, right? We signed defensive end DJ Wonon, right? But other than that, just re-signed a whole lot of guys, right? Nothing a whole lot to do with that Detroit's defense. The offensive side of things, right? Again, not really a whole lot of things happened, right? They essentially traded, right? They got rid of David Montgomery, ended up signing Isaiah Pacheco, right? Yeah, I mean Isaiah Pacheco for about $2 million it's not bad, right? It's not a bad deal, right? But I can't picture how well Isaiah Pacheco and Jahmyr Gibbs will be together, right? I know Isaiah Pacheco is a physical runner, right? So hopefully that works out a little bit like prime Derek or David Montgomery rookie season Jahmyr Gibbs. Hopefully that works out like that, but ultimately we'll take that right now. In the trade for David Montgomery, the asset that they got back was Juice Scruggs, right? Juice Scruggs. Decent piece for the Texans O-line, right? A lot of injuries happened this past season for the Texans, right? He was able to step up in a very big spot for them. So yeah. Pretty big addition for the O line, as well as center Cade Mays, right? Adding Cade Mays for a 3-year, $25 million deal, right? Another center for Jared Goff. Yeah, we'll see how that offensive line works. New pass catchers for them: Greg Dortch, Tyler Conklin, right? Make of it what you will. Make of it what you will. Yeah, not really anything impressive from the Lions, right? Speaking of not anything really impressive, going on to the Green Bay Packers, right? Green Bay Packers, they signed Sky Moore, right? Cool, right? Cool, right? However, on the defensive side, though, is when they made a lot of their more impressive moves, right? Signing Javon Hargrave to a 2-year deal, right? Acquiring the previous mentioned Zaire Franklin from the Indianapolis Colts, right? And then signing Benjamin St. Juste to a 2-year deal coming from the Commanders, right? I like the defensive moves they made. I like the defensive moves that they made. And the Sky Moore deal seems like a more team-friendly receiver than Romeo Dobbs, right? Not that I'm saying that Romeo Dobbs isn't a team-friendly receiver. I'm saying that Sky Moore feels like he would fit what they're trying to do a little bit more, right? Fit what they're trying to do a little bit more. Hopefully, Jalen Reed is going to be healthy this season, right? Because if not, then that Sky Moore deal looks a little bit desperate. Looks a little bit desperate. But yeah. Ultimately, we'll see, right? We'll see, right? And then finally, we're getting into the Minnesota Vikings, right? Not really a whole lot of moves being made in this division, right? We'll start with the defense, right? The defense, they re-signed a whole lot of guys, right? Re-signed a whole lot of guys, right? Getting James Pierre in their secondary, right? Getting Eric Wilson as well for a 3-year deal, right? Yeah, not really a whole lot of moves on that defensive side of the ball. However, on the offensive side, right, besides restructuring Aaron Jones's contract, right, a little bit less money for Aaron Jones, right? However, I don't expect him to have as important of a role as he did last season, right? They need a running back. They need a running back like shit, though. They need a running back bad. They need a running back bad. I wouldn't be surprised if a team like Minnesota just so happened to trade up. Because you're seeing a whole lot of talk about what's his face? Jeremiah Love being a like top 5 lock, right? Yeah, I would like if he were to fall out of the top 5, I like a Minnesota trade. That's just me, though. I'd like a Minnesota trade if he were to fall out of the top 5. However, the big news for the Minnesota Vikings, right, is the additions of both Carson Wentz and Kyler Murray, right? Kyler Murray, everybody's expecting Kyler Murray to take over the starting job over Carson Wentz and 9, right? I don't know if you see that, right? I'm a Michigan fan, right? 9 fan, you feel me? I love 9, right? Been watching 9 since college. Not college. Since high school, I've been watching 9. Ever since he was on IMG, I've been watching 9. So it hurts me a little bit to say that this Kyler Murray edition, it's like a match made in heaven. Right? I'm just saying, I'm kind of what it is, right? It's a match made in heaven for Kyler Murray, right? 1-year deal, right, for Kyler. And so you're signing him for 1 year, and he gets to have Justin Jefferson. It's kind of nice. Kind of a nice jig, right? That's kind of a nice gig right there. Kind of a nice gig. Now the thing is that this division's pretty stacked, right? This division's pretty stacked, right? You saw the breakout of Caleb Williams, right? Detroit just has a good roster, right? The defense, a lot to be desired. However, the offense is pretty nice, right? Very nice offense. Packers been making moves, right? They've been making moves on the defense side, right? Like the Micah Parsons move last year, right? Javon Hargrave, Zaire Franklin. They lost a lot of linebackers, but at the same time, made a lot of moves to try to counteract that. But yeah, Jordan Love is your quarterback, though. That's kind of an issue that won't get addressed until it's too late. Until it's way too late, like you won't be able to address that. It is what it is. Who do I have winning this division? Because the problem is that any one of these teams can win this division. Yeah, the Vikings look the way that they look, but historically, if you look at what the Vikings are, the Vikings don't suck. That's just one thing they don't do. Like they're good, and then they're average. That's as bad as it gets for the Vikings. Is them being average. Like I think they've had legit a handful of losing seasons, and maybe 3 seasons where they were competing for a top pick or a top 5 pick, right? Other than that, they don't suck. That's it. It's just something that the Vikings don't do. They just don't suck. So it's kind of hard to say they add a quarterback this next year, and then what now is finally going to be the year that they suck. They signed Kyler Murray to a 1-year deal worth $1 million. That's like candy. That's almost like candy. I don't think they're winning a division, but I do think it causes a problem a little bit of a problem, right? Who do I have winning this division? Because that's as weird as it's gonna sound. I do see the fucking Vikings competing. It's weird. I see the Vikings competing, and not a lot of people are gonna talk about that. But I see the Vikings actually competing this next season, just solely off of them having Justin Jefferson and Kyler Murray, and Jordan Addison. And then their defense it's good. Their defense is good. They had one of the best scoring defenses this past season. And they didn't really lose anybody. Having a pick for this division is this one's going to be hard to have a pick. This one's going to be hard to have a pick. I already have a pick for the South and the West. But the North, however, is the one division I don't know. I genuinely don't know who wins it. I don't know who wins it. I mean, I'm going to change my mind every day, right? Every day I'm going to change my mind on this division. Ultimately, I'm going to change my mind on this division every day. I can't see it being the Lions. Their defense isn't enough for me. It's not as granted their defense has always been decent. The amount of injuries and washed up piece that they've always had on their defense, right? They've always been kind of decent though. I don't have a pick, but I will say, to me, it's going to be between the Bears and the Vikings. It's going to be between those two teams, right? depending on like how healthy the Vikings are, right? Depending on how that works out, right? Their running back room is still again left a lot left to be desired right there, but their best running back is playing quarterback. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm looking at the Vikings and the Bears to win this division, right? I don't see the Packers have a lot of like big names on this defense, but I don't know. I don't know. I think losing Romeo Dobbs, losing all the defensive pieces that they had. Yeah, they have Michael Parsons and they got Zaire Franklin, but I don't know. They lost a lot of pieces on that D line and on the linebacker core. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Losing Quay Walker, Rashawn Gary. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I have a feeling though. I have a feeling that Detroit might be the worst team in the division again though. I have a slight feeling that Detroit might be the worst team in the division though. I'll have that right though for sure. For sure, I'll have that right. But yeah, I'm thinking the Bears off rip. I'm thinking the Bears, but a dark horse to pay attention to is the Vikings. I do think the Vikings are going to shock a lot of people. So then that brings us to the last division that we're going to go over, being the NFC West, right? The NFC West. Again, we'll be giving the NFC South its own little video, right? Probably closer towards the start of the league season. We'll be giving them its own video. Starting with the defending champs, right? Starting with the defending champs, right? Lost a lot of pieces on their defense, right? Lost Kenneth Walker, right? Lost Kenneth Walker. So let's start with the offense, right? We signed a whole lot of guys, right? We signed Josh Jones on the offensive line, right? Re-signing Jake Bobo. Yeah, re-signing Jake Bobo, having to go band for band with the Jags, right? I didn't think the Jags would try to sign Jake Bobo, right? Especially after all the receivers that they have. I would think that Jake Bobo would be one of the last people on their mind for the Jaguars, but go off, all right? Make Seattle spend his money, right? Make them spend his little money, right? Re-signing Jake Bobo, right? Paying Rashid Shaheed as he damn well should get paid, right? Rashid Shaheed, former Saint, right? I miss him. I miss him. I miss him every day. Right? Rashid Shaheed getting paid, right? He deserves it, right? Jackson Smith and Jigba getting paid, resetting the wide receiver market. See, it's a little different when guys like Jackson Smith sign these big ass contracts, right? It's a little different when he does it. However, when Alex Pierce does it, sexual assault, right? Like all the slurs, right? All the slurs for Alec Pierce resetting like the mid tier wide receiver, right? Then the mid tier guys are making that much money. How does it make that feel to like the guys that are like that, right? You feel me? Like it's a bit of a problem, right? Yeah, and then the final one being their replacement for Kenneth Walker being Emmanuel Wilson. I think really their replacement is Zach Charbonnet. However, I do recall Zach Charbonnet getting injured at the end of last season. So yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that starts for the Seahawks this coming season. Right, we'll see how that goes for them. I don't think it's going to go very well. And on the defensive side of things, right? I mean, they just re-signed a whole lot of guys. Right? DeAnthony Bell. There you go. DeAnthony Bell. That's somebody who wasn't on the team last year, right? Yeah, just a whole lot of re-signing and losing for the Seahawks, right? As we go on for the San Francisco 49ers, right? The 49ers made a couple of moves themselves, right? Signing Nate Hobbs for a one-year deal. Signing Dre Greenlaw back. Dre Greenlaw spent a season at Denver, and now he's back for the Niners. That's cool. Re-signing Gifford, that's cool, right? Acquiring Osa, acquiring the D tackle for the Cowboys. I'm not fucking saying that name. You got me fucked up if you think I'm saying that name, right? Acquiring the D tackle for the Cowboys, right? I know he made a lot of plays for that Cowboy defense, right? So that'll be sick, right? I know that was driving bandwagon fans like crazy, right? Like I know bandwagon fans were in fucking hell, right? I know Stephen A. Smith was shitting his fucking suit. You feel me? Yeah, a whole lot of re-signing from the 49ers, and that big move for the D tackle, pretty big for them. And yeah, on the offensive side, signed a lot of O-linemen to one-year deals, right? Pretty cheap. They signed Charlie Kirk to a I don't know how long that deal was. I think it was a multi-year deal for Charlie Kirk, right? Christian Kirk. We know what he meant, right? But yeah, multi-year deal for Charlie Kirk, and then a 3-year deal for Mike Evans, right? Mike Evans, kind of the bigger acquisition rights. But they're both pretty big, right? Right? Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Mike Evans, Charlie Kirk, Brock Purdy, that George Kittle. Yeah. Talk to me. That should look nice. That should look a little nice, right? Should looking a little nice, right? And yeah, re-signed Pat Taylor. That's kind of their past practice squad guy. Yeah, this is very nice moves for the Niners, right? Pretty nice moves on the offensive side of the Niners, right? A few defensive moves, but mostly offensive for the Niners, right? Getting into the Los Angeles Rams. Los Angeles Rams made three very big moves for me. Starting on the offensive side, just re-signed a whole bunch of guys, right? David Quesenberry. Damn, how old is David Quesenberry, bro? I gotta know. How old is my man's right here? He's only 34. I feel like he's been in the league for a minute. That's crazy. Or to me, that's crazy. I feel like Quesenberry's been in the league for a little minute. Shit. Damn. All right, David Quesenberry. If you don't know who David Quesenberry is, he came back from cancer, right? Right? He was in the show already. All right, he was in the league, right? Acquired cancer, right? Beat cancer, and yeah, he's still in the league for us. I know he's on the Texans for a long period of time. He's with the he's on the Texans for a long period of time. He was with the Titans for a little bit, right? Yeah, I had no idea he was still playing. Damn. Get your shit, David Quesenberry. Get your shit, David. Get your shit. Respect that. Yeah, and then going to the defensive side of the moves, this is where they really showed out this offseason, right? This is where spoiler alert, I do have the Rams, depending on how good Stafford is looking this coming season, right? Because I always feel weird about old quarterbacks, right? That aren't Tom Brady and Drew Brees, right? I always feel weird about those type of guys, right? But nonetheless, right? Depending on how good Stafford is, right? We'll see how far this team can go. I think they're built to go very far, right? Especially with the moves they made at the defensive side of the ball. re-signing Cameron Curl, right? That's my man's right there, Cameron Curl, right? I fucking love me some Cameron Curl, right? 3-year deal, right? Locking his ass down, right? As they should, right? As they should lock his ass down. Very good safety, Cameron Curl. And then yeah, their cornerback room now. It's like they looked at Kansas City and said, "Yeah, give me those guys, give me those guys, right? Give me those guys, right?" Kind of the issue for Los Angeles, at least the Rams this past season, was right, very hyper offensive team, right? A lot of pieces that can get a lot of different things done on the offense, right? On the defense, right? Uh, Stout D line, right? One of the best D line in the National Football League, right? Linebacker core is pretty solid, right? Nate Landman, very good linebacker, right? Very solid little linebacking corps. However, the problem that the Rams had this past season was the way you beat them, throw it over top, air raid, right? Just air raid the Rams, right? The Rams will air raid you. They will air raid you. However, if you air raid them back, it's worse. It's a little bit of a problem. At least for the Rams, it's a little bit of a problem. They give it up like a slut. They give it up like a hoe at the strip club on a. I slow down my tongue right there. I slow down my tongue, but ultimately, signing Jalen Watson from the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Jalen Watson, pretty solid corner, right? Pretty solid corner, right? He has some nice tape actually. He has some very nice tape. Jalen Watson, right? I used to play corner. Right? I used to play corner back when I used to play football, right? I was a corner, right? So I like watching. I like watching some corner film every now and then. I like watching cornerback film every now and then. Put some pretty decent stuff on tape. Right. I like Dylan Watson. However, I love me some Trent McDuffie, though. I love me some Trent McDuffie, right? So Trent McDuffie, also from the Kansas City Chiefs. However, he was acquired in a trade, right? He was acquired in a trade, right? Immediately after the trade, signs a 4-year extension, right? So we're looking at Trent. So we're looking at Trent McDuffie, right? Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, Cameron Curl, and Quentin Lake on that as that secondary, right? Those 4 as their secondary. They look kind of tough. They look kind of tough now. They look kind of tough. They look a little scary, right? Right? Like when they had guys like Kobe Durant fucking trying to guard like all the wide receiver ones and shit, right? Like they look weak. They look weak. They look weak, right? Now they got McDuffie, Watson to go along with Quentin Lake and Cameron Curl. They look like a problem. They look a little bit like a problem. Who's the other guy they had? Because Quentin Lake got injured. Cameron Kitchens, right? Cameron Kitchens coming in for the injured Quentin Lake, right? They had Cameron Kitchens, right? He looked nice as well. So yeah, the Rams look like a problem. The Rams look like a problem now. They look like a problem, right? We're gonna talk about the Cardinals, right? But it's no secret, right? I do find the Rams as the best team in the NFC West. I do think they take over. Gonna give a quick rundown for the Arizona Cardinals, right? Shit. All right. Let's start with the defense side of the ball, right? Signed Roy Lopez from the Detroit Lions, a 2-year deal, decent D tackle. Jonah Williams, solid end, right? Andrew Wingard. He was with the Vikings, right? Andrew Wingard. Wingard was a Viking, right? No, that's right. No, he was not a Viking. He was with the Jags this past season. Yeah. Yeah, career Jag. I don't know where I got Vikings from. Yeah, no idea where I got Vikings from. He's a career Jag. However, he's now with the Cards. Yeah, that's their Jalen Thompson replacement. Good luck to Andrew Wingard. Pretty decent shoes to fill. Not saying he can't do it. Pretty big shoes to fill on that secondary. That secondary is already a little bit of a problem. So hopefully he adds more to that problem that secondary is. On the offensive line side of things, right? Signing Matt Pryor, signing Isaac Simolo to a 3-year deal, right? Elijah Wilkerson to a 2-year deal, right? A lot of pretty decent moves on the offensive line, right? Devin Duvernay from I believe he was with the Ravens. Yeah, he was with the Ravens, right? Devin Duvernay. More of a special teams kind of guy, right? Kendrick Bourne coming from the Niners, so in interdivision signing from Kendrick Bourne, 2-year deal. They don't really help that much. They don't really help the cause that much. That is the wide receiver room of the Arizona Cardinals, right? They still have to deal with having guys like They still have to deal with having guys like Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson, right? So tough shit. Tough shit for the Cards, right? Last two signings to go over with the Cardinals, right, is signing Tyler Algier to a 2-year deal, right? Hopefully Tyler Algier can get that running back one position that he was that rookie season, right? People forget, man. Tyler Algier was once a 1,000-yard rusher in his rookie season before the fucking Falcons got Bijan Robinson, man. He was a 1,000-yard rusher his rookie season. People forget that, man. Yeah, so Tyler Algier will probably be a pretty decent acquisition in fantasy, right? If you're looking for a little fantasy running back that nobody's really looking at, right? Tyler Algier, not that bad of a move. Not that bad of a move, if I do say so myself. I do think he's going to prove himself a little bit this season. And then finally, we'll talk about, right, the Arizona Cardinals got a very heated QB battle, right, going on with Gardner Minshew and Jacoby Brissett. Now, I love Gardner Minshew, but shit, man, that's yeah, what a QB battle, right? What a QB battle. So yeah, NFC West, I like the Rams, right? Uh, kind of give a final outtake on each division, right? So the NFC West, I like the Rams winning the division. NFC South will make it its own video soon, right? But spoiler alert though, it's time. It's fucking time though. Spoiler alert, it's fucking time, right? NFC West, Rams, South, it's time. NFC North, I do like a combination of both the Bears and the Vikings. I do like a combination of those two. I feel like nobody's really talking about the Vikings. However, the Bears, can't really go wrong with the Bears. I do think a lot more people are going to be talking about the Packers winning that division. However, Jordan Love is your quarterback. Those are your wide receivers as well. Good luck. Good luck. And then finally for the NFC East, I just like the Eagles. They're just too much. They're just too much for everybody. They're just too much for everybody in that division. That division's going to be pretty decent. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a decent division, but I don't know. The Eagles are just a little too much. And then back to the AFC right? The AFC West, right? I like Denver, right? Jalen Waddle, like that move. AFC South, the Houston Texans, right? I just don't like how the Jags just got worse to me. They just got worse. So I like the Texans in the South. AFC North. You can take your pick for Baltimore and Cincinnati, right? It's the fucking question of the last 5 years, right? Who's gonna win that between those two. This particular year, I like the Bengals, right? That's just me. And the AFC East, give me the Billies. Right? Give me the Billies. Give me the Billies. It is just what it is, right? Before I get into the final UFC portion of the day, right? Let's give a short overview of MLB today, right? So we see that the Rangers O's that game started, right? Game barely started. And the Rangers have two runners in scoring position right now, one out. So I like to think that they sack fly at very least. At the very least, they sack fly. Who knows? Shit versus shit. The White Sox versus the Marlins. Yo, I want to know who did Derek Jeter pay? Who did Derek Jeter pay to get the Rockies as the first series of the season, and then to follow that up with the White Sox? You picked the two worst teams in baseball to start your season, right? Magnificent from the Marlins, right? Magnificent PR from the Marlins. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right, we'll see. Let's see. Other game that started, right? Nats Philly started. Nats already with two runners in scoring position. We'll see what happens there. No outs, might I add. No outs with two runners in scoring position for the Nats, right? That offense is hell. Joey Weimer is putting that pressure. He is putting on some immaculate pressure. And then we also have the Reds, Pirates going on, right? You see it right here. You see it right here. Pirates fan for today, right? Only for today. And yeah, White Sox, of course, didn't do shit with what they had. And the Royals, right? We talked about it earlier. Chris Bubich. I love what he does, right? Chris Bubich ultimately gets the win, right? One earned run. It was a homer. Tough shit, right? Woods Richardson also gave up a homer in that same inning too. However, it was a 2-run shot. Isbell scoring in Jonathan India as well. And yeah. 3-1 Royals. 3-1 Royals. Yeah, tough game. Tough shit, tough game. Tough game for the Twins, right? It's gonna be a lot of that though this season. It's gonna be a lot of that shit though this season, right? So I mean, let's get it pushing, right? Let's get it going, right? It would probably be a little bit easier to do to go over like who I think fights next, right? Tomorrow, because that's when the rankings release tomorrow, right? For the UFC. Now we're going into the UFC section of the stream, right? The final section of the stream, the final leg of the stream, might I add. Right, yeah. So I mean, shit. I mean, yeah. Let's get this shit, right? Let's get this shit. Let's top of the morning. Yeah, so Thainara. Oh, you know what? Can I get a full breakdown of, or can I see? All right, okay. Thank you, Topology. All right, there you go. There you go. Tapology. There you go. Tapology. There you go. Tapology. Fuck ESPN. There you go. Tapology. Yeah. So the last leg of the stream, right? We're gonna go over what should happen with the fighters going forward from this past weekend, right? Well, we'll start with the very first fight of the card, right? Alexis Tainara got the win over Bruno Brazil, right? Bruno Brazil, obviously a big name in the strawweight division, and so right, it was pretty dominant. So I do think Tainara is going to move a little bit, right? It was a pretty dominant decision, right? I would like her to fight probably somebody in the back of the top 10, right? I would like her to fight up. I would like her to fight up, right? There's some names on towards like the back of the strawweight division, right? There's like Amanda Ribas, right? Jessica Andrade is still alive. Amanda Lemos, Fatima Climb, right? I like the Fatima Climb. I kind of like the Fatima Climb fight, right? I also kind of like Lemos. Ultimately, the fight that I would like to see is Tainara and Ribas next. Ultimately, I'd like to see that next. I would like to see Ribas next. Ribas kind of like in a little bit of a down stretch of her career, right? But I do think that Tabitha Ricci would be a little bit too much, right? So yeah, either one of the Amandas would be fine, right? Ribas, Lemos, right? Either one of them would be fine, right? I just want to see her get a fight within the top 10, right? That just would be ideal, in my opinion. In my opinion, that just would be ideal. Ricky Simone and Adrian Yanez, right? That ends in a draw, right? I mean, because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing with both of them, right? Ricky Simone's been kind of like fighting on the like outside of the rankings, right? Adrian Yanez historically has never been in the rankings. I don't want to give either of them a ranking shot just yet, right? Especially Ricky Simone, right? But Adrian Yanez, I don't want to give him a ranking shot just yet, right? I would rather him. In my opinion, he decisively won this one, right? He decisively won this fight, right? Just did the damage, right? Did the damage. Ricky Simone, he won around. He won around, right? Ultimately, I don't know why people thought he won that first round, or at least I don't know why judges thought he won that first round. But yeah, I would like Adrian Yanez to fight somewhere on the outside of the top 15. Maybe give him an up and comer, right? Maybe give him an up and comer, right? Yeah. Ultimately, we'll see though. Ultimately, we will see. Navajo Sterling and Bruno Lopez, right? Navajo Sterling beats another can, right? Beats another can. Ultimately, Navajo Sterling, right? 9-0, right? Like 3-0 in the UFC. Yeah, let's stop giving this guy some fucking layups. Let's give him some actual hardship, right? Let's give him some hardship, right? Does he deserve a ranking shots? Maybe. I wouldn't be opposed to Navajo Sterling and Ming Yang, right? I wouldn't be opposed to that. However, I know that wouldn't happen, right? I know that wouldn't happen. You know what I would love to see? I'd love to see Kutalaba. I'd love to see Sterling fight Kutalaba. I'd love to see what he does with Iwan Kutalaba. I'd love to see what Navajo Sterling does with Iwan Kutalaba, right? Kutalaba isn't like in the rankings, right? But I'd love to see what he'd do to Kutalaba, right? Because Kutalaba's a vet, and Kutalaba's he's a vet right there. That's a vet right there, Kutalaba, right? Um, not exactly the best matchup, right? Putting him against Navajo Sterling, right? But Kutalaba brings that pressure, right? Kutalaba brings that pressure, right? And like I could see a little first round KO from Ewan. I could see a first round KO from Ewan, right? But yeah, ultimately we'll see. Ultimately we'll see, right? Casey O'Neill with the first round KO over Gabriela Fernandez, right? Casey O'Neill does have a ranking, right? Yeah, first round KO. That doesn't happen a whole lot, right? There's a fight, right? There's a fight that, it kind of makes sense, right? It kind of makes sense, right? And I'm not just saying it, right? I'm not just saying it to put two of the prettier women in this division, right? Not just saying it to put that on a card, right? But if you match up Casey O'Neill and Tracy Cortez, if you match that shit up, right? Maybe Tracy Cortez finally works on her striking, right? If you match that shit up, right? I think we'd all be seated for that shit. I think we would all be seated for Tracy Cortez and Casey O'Neill. Right. And ultimately, like from there, we get to see if Tracy Cortez has worked on her stand up, right? Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a pretty solid fight. Tracy Cortez and Casey O'Neill. Pretty solid fight. Tyrell Fortune and Marcin Tybura, right? Tyrell Fortune won that fight. I don't know if you've picked up what I'm putting down, right? But we're only trying to match up winners. Sorry, Tybura, right? Fortune's gonna have himself a decent ranking come tomorrow, right? He's gonna have himself a decent ranking, right? I mean, there's a lot of people in the heavyweight division you could put him up against, right? You can put him up against like with the top dogs, right? You can put him up with the top dogs, right? I would like to see him more so against like kind of like a fighter in his range, right? I'd like him against Teixeira, right? I'd like him against Teixeira. Depending on how high he's ranked, right? I wouldn't mind him seeing I wouldn't mind him seeing against Kuniev, right? Rizman Kuniev, right? I wouldn't mind him seeing against Kuniev or Teixeira, right? Teixeira, that Taliesin Teixeira matchup looking a little scary, but that Kuniev matchup, the Kuniev matchup would probably be a fun fight, though. It'd be a fun fight to watch, right? Teixeira, ultimately, if you're trying to kill this guy, right, put him up against Teixeira. But Rizvan Kuniev, I like him. I also like Shamil Gaziev, right? We get Shamil Gaziev and Tyrell Fortune together. We gonna have himself a blob off right here. Blob off. I love me a blob off. Always gotta love yourself a good old blob off, right? Those are just some ideas for him, right? However, the next fighter we have right here is Lance Gibson over Chase Hooper, right? Lance Gibson. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that Lance Gibson should get Drew Dober, right? And that Drew Dober fight is ultimately gonna, I guess prove something, right? Yeah, I don't know if people really been keeping up with Drew Dober, but yeah, no. How about no? All right, how about no? Lance Gibson, lightweight. Lightweight's a fun division, right? Lightweight's just a fun division, ultimately. So he got his ass beat by Bobby Green, right? Got his ass beat by Bobby Green. I'm like, who could we match him up with? Who can we match him up with in lightweight? Now I'm a little curious. Who could we match him up with at lightweight? I don't like the Drew Dober matchup. Ultimately, I do not like the Drew Dober matchup. Right? Lance Gibson, I wouldn't mind him. Like, for some reason, it's looking like he's trying to fight like the older guys, like the guys like kind of like with the name that are outside of the top 10, right? Mateus Rebecki would kind of be like suicide, right? I mean, I wouldn't mind a fight. I know he's on a skid, right? I know he's kind of like on a downward skid, right? I wouldn't mind him matching up against Diego Ferreira, right? Diego Ferreira's on a skid, right? But at the same time, Diego Ferreira has been fighting fucking killers, so you kind of give him some slack for that, right? Or Jakar Close, right? Jakar Close is a pretty good. Jakar Close wouldn't be that bad of a matchup for Lance Gibson, right? Ultimately test his stand up a little bit, right? I do think his stand up would match up very well on against Jakar Close. Oh yeah, I mean we'll see. See what Lance Gibson, right? We'll see what Lance Gibson. There's a lot of guys in lightweight though in general, right? Like you can put him up with Alexander Hernandez, right? It's another pretty decent fight that you could put him up with. Alexander Hernandez, Jakar Close, Diego Ferreira, like somebody like that, right? Somebody like that. Next fight we have Tariq Tawfiq Musayev versus Ignacio Bahamondes, right? Musayev ended up winning. It wasn't a robbery, right? But I wouldn't say it's exactly a clean win from Musayev, but I mean, shit, he got it done though. He got it done. Yeah, he got it done. Got it done. Grappler. 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 I mean, you know what? He just fought on the card, right? He was the fight above him, right? What about Musayev and Terrence McKinney? Right? What about Musayev, Terrence McKinney, right? It saves us the next fight, right? Terrence McKinney getting the first round KO over Kyle Nelson, right? Very impressive performance, right? Musayev had an impressive performance, but at the same time, he cheated like a lot. So I wouldn't mind Terrence McKinney and Musayev, right? And the winner of that fight, give him a ranking or give him a ranking shot at least. It's not that bad of a fight right there. Terrence McKinney and Musayev, right? Really not that bad of a fight. I like it at least. Pretty solid fights, if I do say so myself. Terrence McKinney and Musayev. Next fight up, we have Yusri Bulgaroy and Mansur Abdul Malik, right? Yeah. Very, very good performance from Bulgaroy, right? However, so here's the thing with him though. So he's a kickboxer, right? He's a kickboxer, right? We saw how the career of Pereira and Adesanya got built, right? And they got pushed pretty fast. Ultimately, they got pushed very fast. And yeah, so it was a very impressive win from him. So what do we give him a shot? Do we give him a shot right here, or we give him someone like Olisejczyk? We give him Olisejczyk or like Olisejczyk or Aliskerov, right? Actually preferably not Aliskerov, but like Mikhail Olisejczyk, right? I like that fight for him, right? He gets through Olisejczyk, right? And he gets through Olisejczyk. I mean, who's not to say that he doesn't deserve a ranking shot after that, right? He gets to Olisejczyk. Olisejczyk's a fucking killer, right? So is Abdul Malik, right? But Olisejczyk is a killer, right? Outside of that ranking position, right? Olisejczyk is him, right? He's been doing a lot. He's been putting in a lot of work for this middleweight division, right? So, right, Bugaroy, Olisejczyk, right? Olisejczyk, also a fighting nerd, right? He's been working on his striking a whole lot since joining the Fighting Nerds. Yeah, let's see that Fighting Nerd striking put to work. Let's see that shit put to work, my boy. Let's see what that shit do. Let's see how that shit do, right? Just keeping it a buck, right? See what that shit do, right? Next up we have Ryan Douglas getting that win over Juicy J. Julian Erosa, right? First round finish for Ryan Douglas, right? First round finish. What should he have next, right? Let's see, right? I don't think he should get like a ranking eliminator, right? I don't think that should be next for him, right? You know what would kill? You know what would kill? If Douglas can get like a William Gomez, right? A William Gomez next, or a Chet Mariscal, right? A Chet Mariscal would be kind of sick, right? Duho Choi, right? Duho Choi. Oh, you know what? I kind of like that Duho Choi, right? If we can get Duho Choi out of retirement, right? We get Duho Choi out of retirement, right? And he gets if he wants to fight, right? I can't touch can't really go wrong with Duho Choi and LeBron Douglas, right? Another pretty good opposition that we can go with right here is William Gomez, Joe Anderson Brito, right? Because Julian Erosa, right? He was on a run right now. And he was on a little bit of a run right now, kind of stopped the momentum, but I mean, Douglas has a nice streak, right? If we can get him with like Andre Feely or William Gomez or Joe Anderson Brito, that would be kind of sick, right? It'd be kind of a sick fight. I don't know, right? Michael Chiesa got that win over Nico Price. They both retired. Say goodbye. Happy retirement for Michael Chiesa and Nico Price, right? The next two, right? We have Alexa Grasso getting that first round TKO KO. I said TKO. What the fuck? No, that was a KO. First round KO over Macy Barber, right? Alexa Grasso, right? I mean, the only fight that really makes sense, the fight that makes sense to me, is Manon Farah. Right, that's the fight that makes sense to me, Manon. Right, it's the only fight that really makes sense, right? Natalia Silva, Aaron Blanchfield, right? Fight each other, right? Manon, Alexa Grasso, right? Book it immediately, right? It makes too much sense, right? Book it immediately, right? Or save it for Noche or whatever, right? that's gonna be a sick fight. It's gonna be a sick fight, right? Ultimately, Manon's known for her striking, right? Grasso boxing, right? One of the few fighters that really incorporates her boxing or their boxing with the MMA style of stand up, right? People like Alexa Grasso, Ilya Taporia, Jack Della Maddalena, right? Really really implement their boxing style to their MMA striking, right? Looks very nice, right? Alexa Grasso, Manon Ferrat. Would love to see that, right? And then finally, very final, is Joe Pyfer with that first round TKO over Israel Adesanya, right? Joe Pyfer is going to get a little Joe Pyfer is going to get himself a little bit of a push, right? A little bit of a push, right? So Joe Pyfer, what do we do with Joe Pyfer? What do we do with Joe Pyfer? Because do we give him a contender? A lot of the problems with middleweight right now too, right? A lot of the problems we have with middleweight is that is just a whole bunch of people moving up, right? It's just a whole bunch of people moving up, right? We see Rainer's looking to move up, right? Paulo Costa is going to move up in the next pay-per-view, right? Officially going to move up in the next pay-per-view. Robert Whittaker moving up as well. Yeah, just a lot of people moving up in the division, right? Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer. Who would make sense for Joe Pyfer, right? I'm looking at the rankings right now. I have not a clue who would make sense for Joe Pyfer. Cannonier? I'm saying that kind of like Cannonier? Like Cannonier. Brendan Allen would be sick, right? Brendan Allen would be sick, right? Because ultimately, I would like to see a little bit more. I'd like to see a streak from Brendan Allen before we give him anything serious, right? Like a title shot or anything, right? Yeah, I'd like Cannonier, Brendan Allen. Yeah, Joe Pyfer's kind of in a very weird boat, right? But he's in a weird boat only because like a lot of people are leaving this division, right? A lot of people don't want to fight in middleweight for some reason, right? It is what it is, right? It is what it is, right? Only so much you can do, right? Well, you can only force people to fight for so long, right? But I do like Joe Pyfer and I do like Brandon Allen, right? I like that one especially, right? Especially a little bit more than the Jaron Cannonier fight. The Jaron Cannonier fight, right? It just kind of seemed like we're just like sacrificing him. But yeah. Joe Pyfer, Brandon Allen. Give me that. I would love that. Yeah. That's I guess we could do one for Izzy, right? Depending on how far we're gonna push Belgaroy, right? Depending on how far we push him, right? In my opinion, I do think he needs like a Michael, like a Mikhail Oleksiejczuk to get into the rankings, right? Just one more of those, right? We get one more of those, and then put you in the deep end, right? But if they're already gonna put him in the deep end with that Abdul Malik fight, they're already gonna put him in the deep end. Yeah, they're already gonna put him in the deep end. Just do the Izzy fight already. Just do the Izzy fight. Might as well just do the Izzy fight. It'd be fun. It would be fun, right? Just do the Izzy fight and Belgaroy, right? I think we'd all would love to see it, right? But yeah. Ultimately, we'll see what the rankings come out tomorrow, right? It'll clear things up a little bit better, right? But yeah, we'll see what the rankings look like tomorrow. Yeah. Little bit of a meaty stream, right? A little bit of a meaty stream today. A lot of couple little sports topic that were covered in depth, right? Covered the NFL free agency in depth today, right? Went over the legendary fight night that just happened this past weekend, right? Went over the legendary fight night, went over the potential matchups that we can get out of that on future cards. And yeah, oh my goodness, I am not even brain fried or anything. No brain fry, just natural CTE. Nah, it's cool. It's cool. And then yeah, at the beginning of this stream, we went over the final four. Yesterday's matchup, also with not next Saturday, but this coming Saturday's matchup with Michigan, Arizona, Illinois, and UConn. Right. I do like Michigan and UConn as our championship game. Right. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all I had to cover for this stream, right? Pretty much the main things I had to cover, right? Tomorrow, it's gonna be a little bit of a special, right? We're gonna have the last U.S. men's national team game for this international break before the World Cup, right? Also, we didn't really go over the men's national team today, right? We're saving that shit for tomorrow. Feel me? Saving that shit for tomorrow, right? Yeah, going to be covering a whole lot of U.S. men's national team tomorrow, right? Hopefully we get to the NBA also as well tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see, right? If not, we'll get to that maybe Thursday or Wednesday, right? One of those 2 days. Who knows, right? Yeah, I already talked about what's going on next stream, right? Talked about what's going on, what went on this stream, right? Yeah. I mean, that's about it, right? That's about it, right? I mean, we covered a whole lot of different topics, right? Going to cover a whole lot of different topics this week, right? Yeah, probably Wednesday we'll talk about the rankings too as soon as they drop, right? We'll talk about them. And yeah, tomorrow stream, U.S. men's national team going on tomorrow, right? We'll see if the boys can pick it up, right? We'll see if the boys can pick up from that embarrassment of a loss we had this past weekend against Belgium, right? Belgium's not even going to be that crazy of a team, right? Portugal is going to be that crazy of a team this coming World Cup, right? So yeah, ultimately we'll see that. So that's about it, right? That's about it, right? Yeah, that's gonna conclude this stream, right? I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow, right? I'm gonna fuck with y'all tomorrow, right? U.S. men's national team tomorrow playing big game tomorrow, right? Big game tomorrow. A lot to cover tomorrow, right? With the U.S. men's national team. Try to get to some NBA tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see, right? But we are covering the lads tomorrow. I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow. I fuck with y'all. I love y'all, right? And yeah.